American Comics. Starting with DC Comics to make fun. Chapter 41. Captain America's stage tour came to an abrupt halt with the dire news from the Italian front. The 107th Infantry Regiment, to which Bucky belonged, was almost completely wiped out, and a large number of soldiers, including Bucky Barnes, were captured and imprisoned in a HYDRA's heavily fortified factory in Clausburg. At the Strategic Scientific Reserve (SSR) headquarters, the atmosphere was somber. "We must send someone to rescue them." Steve Rogers, having shed his costume and changed into an early combat uniform, said firmly to Colonel Phillips and Agent Carter. "That's deep in HYDRA-controlled territory, Rogers." Sending an entire team in is suicide, Colonel Phillips paced in front of the map, his brow furrowed. "Then I'll go alone." Steve did not back down. You'd better stick to selling bonds." The colonel's tone was full of doubt. Although he had seen Steve's strength, he still struggled to equate him with a lone hero venturing deep into enemy territory. The hope on Steve's face instantly extinguished, and he just stared blankly at the distant coordinates on the map. Just then, Peggy Carter found Steve sitting alone and dejected in the barracks, with Howard Stark and Russell following closely behind. "The colonel's orders are based on the overall strategy of the European battlefield." Carter's voice was calm and firm, "but my mission is as commander, and I have the authority to decide how to use the resources at my disposal." After speaking, she glanced at Howard. Howard shrugged, a cynical yet reliable smile on his face. "I just happen to have a plane that needs a long-distance test flight. It's been a while since I've flown my private plane out for fun." Steve suddenly looked up, his eyes rekindling with fire. Russell stepped forward at the opportune moment, shaking the camera in his hand. "As Stark Industries' special technical recorder, I have a responsibility to record the combat test data of new equipment, Captain America. Of course, if I can also record some inspiring footage along the way, that would be even better." His reasoning was impeccable, and his gaze met Steve's, conveying silent support. There was no official approval, no large contingent. This was a private, unsanctioned solo operation. A few hours later, Howard, piloting his modified plane, carrying Steve, Carter, and Russell, quietly flew away from the rear base, heading towards Hydra's stronghold in Clausburg. The atmosphere inside the cabin was tense. Carter spread out the map, reconfirming the factory layout and possible detention points, while Howard focused on flying. Steve repeatedly wiped his first-generation shield, his eyes fixed on the pitch-black night sky outside the window, while an idle Russell whistled to pass the time. As they flew near the base, Hydra's radar detected Howard's plane, and the anti-aircraft system began to operate, with anti-aircraft fire grazing the plane's fuselage. "We can't fly any lower, Steve. Prepare to land." Howard continuously operated the plane's control system, not forgetting to shout towards the cabin door. Soon, Russell followed Steve as he leapt from the air. Russell did not want to expose his abilities and have them recorded, which would arouse suspicion, especially since the next Marvel timeline, Iron Man, was still decades away. So the rescue plan was simple. Russell would take photos and record from the periphery of the Hydra energy weapon factory, while Steve would penetrate deep into the base to rescue the prisoners of war. Captain America would be responsible for the chaos, and Russell for the "ga-ga" onomatopoeia for camera shutter. As Captain America infiltrated the weapon factory, occasional muffled explosions and gunshots could be heard from the direction of the factory. Inside the factory, Steve was like a tiger unleashed, his shield transforming into an indestructible weapon in his hand, precisely knocking down one guard after another. In front of the super soldier, these Hydra soldiers had no power to fight back. Steve charged towards the area where the prisoners of war were held, following the general direction provided by Carter. Suddenly, Steve's low but urgent voice came through the walkie-talkie. "I found them. There are too many people, we need backup. At the open ground on the east side of the factory." During the conversation, Steve's eyes swept over the prisoners of war, finding no familiar figure of his friend Bucky. After asking a few prisoners, he learned that Bucky was being held alone in the laboratory for human experimentation. Steve eagerly pushed through the crowd and rushed towards the Hydra laboratory, all the while praying internally that his good brother Bucky would not suffer any mishaps. Pushing open the laboratory door, what greeted his eyes were scattered tools and documents strewn across the floor. After realizing they couldn't stop Captain America, the laboratory scientists panicked and evacuated the scene. Finally, Captain America found Bucky tied to the operating table. But Bucky's condition looked grim. He seemed to have just undergone a major surgery and had fainted from exhaustion on the operating table. Bucky. Bucky. Wake up. Steve gently patted Bucky's face. Bucky weakly opened his eyes, and seeing Steve, a hint of confusion and disbelief flashed in his eyes. Steve. You've gotten taller. Bucky's voice was hoarse. Looking at Steve's greatly changed body with disbelief, the first thing he did upon waking was to care about his brother's transformation. How are you feeling? Let's not talk now, I'll take you home first. Steve untied Bucky from the operating table, then helped Bucky to gather with the prisoners of war, preparing to break out of the factory. Relying on the powerful firepower and armor of HYDRA's new tanks, they swept through everything, carving out a bloody path directly to the landing platform on the outskirts of the base. Upon reaching the relatively open platform area, Steve quickly climbed onto a nearby high platform, preparing to use a signal device to contact Howard's plane. Just as he was concentrating on operating the equipment, a chill struck him from behind. Without thinking, almost instinctively, he swung his shield behind him to block. Clang! A loud crash of metal. A gloved fist, containing power far beyond that of an ordinary person, slammed heavily onto the shield. Steve used the force to turn around, seeing the attacker clearly, a tall man wearing a high-ranking Hydra officer's uniform. The two immediately became entangled in combat, exchanging punches and kicks, both with speed and strength far beyond ordinary people. After several exchanges, Steve keenly noticed that the opponent's strength, speed, and reactions were almost identical to his own. Whatever Erskine told you, Schmidt said coldly in English with a German accent, while attacking, his tone full of arrogance and disdain, I am his truly perfect work. After probing Steve's general strength, Schmidt did not want to get entangled further. He feigned a move, then sharply stepped back, a twisted smile appearing on his face. It's time I showed you what true evolution is. With that, he grabbed the edges of his cheeks with both hands, and to Steve's shocked gaze, he tore off his entire face. Beneath the mask was a terrifying, noseless, crimson-skinned, flayed skull. He casually threw the lifelike skin mask into the raging inferno below, the crimson skull appearing even more sinister in the firelight. Click. Just then, a clear camera shutter sound came from not far away. Immediately after, a blinding flash of light ignited, precisely hitting Schmidt's horrifying face. Russell, at some point, had found the best shooting angle, his camera aimed at the high platform, while he himself stepped out from the shadows of the platform, a professional and annoying smile on his face, and commanded loudly. Excellent. Mr. Schmidt, that's the expression. Hold it. Look at the camera. Yes, imagine drinking a month's worth of essence. Can the character be peeled off? Yes. That's the feeling of anger mixed with disbelief. Now say, cheese. This sudden, professional photography guidance, and the blinding flash instantly froze Schmidt, who had been preparing to enjoy Captain America's terrified expression. His crimson skull seemed to turn a purplish black due to anger. Red plus black should be purple, right? He considered himself a perfect being beyond humanity, a god of the future world, and now he was being photographed like a horror movie actor. You. Schmidt let out a bestial roar, his attention instantly shifting completely from Steve. He abruptly turned towards Russell's direction, about to leap from the high platform, vowing to crush that fooled photographer and his camera together. However, Captain America would not give him the chance. Your opponent is me. Steve growled, his shield whistling through the air, once again blocking Schmidt's path. Their battle became even more intense. Amidst the flurry of punches and kicks, the metal railings on the high platform vibrated with a hum. Russell, while flexibly switching shooting angles to capture the battle between Captain America and Red Skull, also did not forget to deliver finishing blows, with his voice amplified by the director's commentary to ensure the other party could hear clearly. Seriously, Mr. Schmidt, consider my offer. Germany is clearly losing the war, and HYDRA's company benefits don't seem great, they don't even give you a good face. I just happen to need a character actor, specializing in horror, definitely AC position. Salary is negotiable, $50 a month, with room and board. Much more promising than doing terrorist attacks here. Shut up. You ant. Schmidt was almost exploding with rage, his attacks becoming even more ferocious, but he was firmly entangled by the calm Steve, unable to break free. Recording the Red Skull's true face revealed, famous scene. Meme energy plus 30. Finally, seeing that he couldn't quickly defeat Steve, and wary of that photographer possibly taking more, god-damaging, photos. In a fit of rage, Schmidt used the smoke from an explosion as cover and quickly retreated from the high platform, leaving only a low growl full of murderous intent. We will meet again, Captain America. And you, that annoying fly. Watching Schmidt disappear, Steve breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Russell, shaking his head helplessly. Russell gave him an, okay, gesture, shaking his camera, indicating that the footage was perfectly captured. Let's go, Captain. Our taxi, referring to Howard's plane, must be getting impatient, Russell called out with a smile. Steve jumped down from the high platform, met up with Russell, and led the prisoners of war onto the plane that had arrived just in time, leaving the burning Hydra base and a certain Red Skull fuming in their wake. The successful rescue operation at Clausburg was like a shot in the arm for the Allied forces, who had recently suffered a defeat the landing in Italy. The heroic deeds of Captain America Steve Rogers, accompanied by the footage Russell had captured, Captain America's parachute jump, the fierce battle at the factory, and Red Skull's true face revealed, though this part was heavily censored and not fully released, began to spread widely on both the front lines and the home front. Steve finally shed his image as a stage joker, gaining recognition from the American public and becoming the true Captain America. Russell was also commended by Colonel Phillips for his contributions as a war correspondent, officially granting him the title of SSR Special Technical Consultant and Recording Specialist, which gave him higher authority and more freedom of movement. As for Captain America Steve, the higher-ups finally recognized his individual breakthrough capabilities and prepared to form a Special Forces team, the Howling Commandos, to combat Hydra factories. However, the joy of victory was soon overshadowed by a pall of gloom. Dr. Erskine was critically wounded by a gunshot and was on the verge of death. In the Dr.'s ward during his final moments, Russell had a chance to be alone with him. He quietly closed the door. The eye of the fourth wall displayed Dr. Erskine's status, critically ill, disoriented. Dr. Russell's voice was gentle, and at the same time, he subtly activated environmental atmosphere influence, making the light in the ward warm and soft, creating a peaceful and conducive atmosphere for confiding. Dr. Erskine weakly opened his eyes. Russell used director's commentary, his voice imbued with convincing sincerity and concern. Doctor, we all saw Schmidt's madness not long ago. Power in the wrong hands is a disaster. You chose Steve because of his pure soul. But are you concerned that in the future, new Schmidts will covet your wisdom? We need Captain America. Without his help, it's hard to imagine how many lives would be lost to rescue these prisoners of war. How long is Captain America's lifespan? How long can he protect us who yearn for peace? Doctor, we need you to reveal the serum data for proper safekeeping. This will become the cornerstone for defending peace. I can guarantee that when the super serum is successfully restored in the future, it will be given to the right person. These words deeply touched Erskine's deepest worries and hopes. Under the influence of the ability and with his mental defenses weakened at the end of his life, he began to dictate, in fragments, parts of the serum's core theories and key parameters for energy activation. He repeatedly emphasized the importance of character and the serum's amplifying effect on inner essence. Russell was fully focused, his super brain like a precise instrument, forcibly engraving every syllable and every formula detail deep into his memory. Soon after, Dr. Erskine passed away. His departure meant that the complete serum formula seemed to be lost forever. Howard Stark took on the heavy responsibility of organizing the Doctor's belongings and attempting to restore the data. He found the Doctor's encrypted notes and some experimental records, but the content was fragmented, and key steps were missing, causing the restoration work to reach an impasse. At this point, Russell just happened to intervene as a technical consultant. Howard had long admired this young man with unique thinking and invited him to participate in this arduous task. During their collaboration, Howard was constantly amazed by the learning speed of Russell's super brain. Russell could perfectly digest and apply knowledge in just a few days or even hours. However, when he learned that his future son, Tony, possessed a brain known as the Wisdom Gem, capable of building a reactor from scraps in a cave, he wondered what he would think. Russell, how on earth is your brain wired? After Russell proposed a clever method to bypass the missing data and deduce the catalyst components by reverse engineering the energy metabolism pathway, Howard couldn't help but exclaim, "Some of your ideas are simply not of this era." Russell just smiled and used his prepared excuse, "I just read widely and like to connect knowledge from different fields haphazardly. It's just good luck." Through their efforts, some progress was made in the serum's restoration. They successfully deduced some basic frameworks and stabilizer components, but the most crucial and decisive bioactive catalytic sequence could not be successfully determined by mere speculation without research on the tesseract. Ultimately, they obtained an incomplete and theoretically flawed serum data model. It might provide some research directions, but it was still far from replicating Erskine's success. After the project's phased summary, Howard's feelings were complex. He was both pleased with the progress and regretful that it couldn't be fully replicated. He handed Russell a glass of wine. "Honestly, Russell, we owe you a lot this time. Without your strokes of genius, we might not have even gotten this far." Russell took the glass, a smile on his face, and said in a half-joking, half-serious tone, "Mere verbal thanks aren't enough, Mr. Stark. How about this? If you ever have a child, how about you let me be their godfather? I think I could raise him her to be quite interesting." Howard paused, then burst out laughing at the sudden, absurd proposal. He simply took it as another display of Russell's American humor, perhaps due to the alcohol or the relaxed atmosphere of the moment. He laughed heartily, patting Russell's shoulder. "Ha ha. No problem. It's a deal. If I ever have a boy or a girl, you can be the godfather. Let's see what you can teach them. I hope they can learn your learning ability, and not become a playboy like me." The two clinked glasses, both treating the agreement as a harmless joke. However, deep in Russell's eyes, a subtle glint flashed that only he understood. Their conversation had long been recorded by Russell's hidden camera. When he meets Tony in the future, he'll give him a good lecture, letting him experience the missing fatherly love. After all, it's well known that videos cannot be fooled. If he dares not acknowledge him as his godfather, Russell wouldn't mind giving Tony Stark a taste of some family discipline. However, this world's mission was also nearing completion. Mission 3. Seize the opportunity to obtain the original super soldier serum formula or core data. Completed. Reward obtained. Super soldier serum incomplete data pack stored in host's memory bank. Hint. All Marvel Captain America 1 main missions have been completed. After leaving this world, the final reward will be settled and issued. Captain America Serum Complete Version. It seems Captain America's serum will have to wait until he leaves to be injected, but he doesn't know if he will get a huge boost after the injection. The success of the rescue operation and the ensuing publicity made Captain America Steve Rogers a symbol of the Allied spirit, and Captain America Steve's tactical position grew increasingly important. He also received his exclusive weapon, the Vibranium Shield. To more effectively strike at Hydra's strongholds, a special unit was formed, centered around Steve and composed of elite soldiers from various branches, the Howling Commandos. Russell, thanks to his irreplaceable battlefield record and the strong endorsement of Howard Stark, successfully obtained the identity of a Special War Correspondent for the Strategic Scientific Reserve (SSR). Only he dared to go to the battlefield to film. His main tasks were to follow the Howling Commandos, collect propaganda material, and record tactics. Of course, the most important task was to sell more bonds through these inspiring videos. Thus, amidst the flames of the European battlefield, a peculiar scene unfolded. The members of the Howling Commandos fought valiantly, while on the edge of the battlefield, there was always a figure in a photography vest, holding a camera, occasionally muttering filming pointers. Of course, Russell was not without encountering lunatics who were blind enough to shoot at him, but each time the gun would either accidentally misfire, or a pebble would block the barrel, or they would die an unexpected violent death. Even if hit, Russell would continue filming as if nothing had happened. Russell had already planned what to do with the footage he filmed. He thought of submitting all of it to Gotham's film industry with titles like, "After Taking XX Medicine, I Saved the World," or, "America's Big Muscle Man, The Untold Secrets of World War II, or, Military Flower Falls in Love with Me with Just XX Medicine. He also planned to collaborate with some fitness supplement companies for co-branded products, expecting to make so much money that his hands would ache from counting. Russell was shocked by his own business acumen. These weren't just photos, they were stacks of cold, hard cash. These films would not only bring money but also enhance Russell's reputation, proving that he could make not only cop and robber films, but also large-scale World War II movies. Come on, Captain, look at the camera, strike a muscular pose. Although Captain America did not understand some of Russell's strange requests, considering that Russell pursued art and it would be abnormal if his mind wasn't a little off, he still complied and struck many powerful poses. The Howling Commandos, achievements snowballed, severely crippling Hydra's power in Europe. One Hydra base after another was erased from the map, marking the great success of the Allied forces on the European battlefield. Seeing his Hydra empire being destroyed, Red Skull, in a fit of rage, decided to eliminate Captain America. At the same time, Captain America's Howling Commandos also received the latest intelligence from Hydra. The intelligence indicated that Hydra's chief scientist, Dr. Arnim Zola, would be traveling by heavy armored train through the Alps to a new secret base. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Capturing Zola would severely cripple Hydra's research and development capabilities. The action plan was quickly formulated. Steve and Bucky would lead a small team of elites to forcibly board and capture Zola when the train passed through a treacherous mountain pass. Russell, along with Howard Stark, would provide rear support and rendezvous in a disguised transport vehicle on a mountain road running parallel to the tracks below. Russell's role remained recording and intelligence support. Through a high magnification camera and advanced listening devices provided by Howard, he closely monitored the train's movements and transmitted information to Steve and his team via encrypted walkie-talkie. Captain, Zola's car is in the middle section. There are 4 patrol guards outside, and there might be pressure-activated devices at the car connections. Bucky, clear the left passage, but watch out for the overhead vents. His precise and timely reports greatly facilitated the assault team's actions. The camera faithfully recorded the thrilling raid. The battle raged fiercely in the narrow train car roofs and corridors. Steve and Bucky covered each other, pushing forward. However, Hydra's resistance was exceptionally tenacious. During a fierce firefight, the roof section where Bucky was located came under intense fire, and a steel plate beneath his feet became loose and twisted due to an explosion. That fatal scene from the original plot seemed about to repeat. Bucky lost his balance and slid towards the abyss. Bucky. Steve's eyes were bloodshot, and he struggled to rush over but was firmly entangled by enemy fire. He watched helplessly as his best friend's figure lost balance on the loose, twisted steel plate, reaching out but only grasping air. Bucky Barnes, with a mix of astonishment and relief on his face, plummeted straight down into the abyss below the train, instantly swallowed by the snow mist and canyon, disappearing without a trace. No. Pain and fury swept over Captain America Steve Rogers. His blue eyes instantly became bloodshot, and his normally gentle face twisted with extreme agony. He no longer dodged bullets, his vibranium shield protecting his front. Like a human battering ram, he charged towards the Hydra soldiers who were still firing, in an overwhelming manner. Bang! Bang! Clang! Each swing of the shield was accompanied by the muffled sound of bones cracking and tendons tearing, and each impact made the train car tremble. He no longer held back, unleashing the strength of a super soldier on the Hydra soldiers who caused the tragedy, clearing the path at an astonishing speed. In the transport vehicle behind, Russell's camera lens remained fixed on the moment Bucky fell, until his figure completely disappeared into the mist of the valley. He recorded in silence, without his usual directorial commentary. Only his low, rapid voice came through the walkie-talkie. Captain, calm down. Zola is still on the train. Catch him, and we'll know what other plans Hydra has, and only then can you avenge Barnes. Russell tried to pull the nearly collapsing Steve back to reality with a focus on the objective and mission. These words brought a glimmer of sanity back to Steve, who was almost consumed by rage. He let out a lion-like roar, his offensive becoming even fiercer, charging recklessly towards the target car on the train. At this moment, inside the car, Zola saw Bucky's fall from the window, and also saw Captain America charging like a god descending. His short, stout body trembled violently with fear, and the data card in his hand almost dropped. He knew he had nowhere to run. A few minutes later, Steve forcibly rammed open the reinforced door of Zola's car with his shield. Inside, there was only a trembling Zola and a few of his guards. The guards were dispatched by Steve almost instantly. He stepped forward, a huge shadow enveloping Zola, who was slumped in his chair. A hand, stained with enemy blood and ice, grabbed Zola's collar and lifted him entirely. I lost my most important friend, Bucky. I want you Hydra to pay for this blood debt. Steve's voice was hoarse, filled with uncontrollable killing intent. Zola's face turned pale with fright, and he stammered, I surrender. Don't kill me. I'm just a scientist. I can tell you many things. Many Hydra secrets. Steve stared at him intently, and finally, his clenched fist slowly relaxed. He roughly threw Zola to the arriving assault team members. Watch him. His voice was cold, as if it had lost all warmth. The operation was over. Zola was successfully captured, but the Howling Commandos paid a heavy price. Several team members were injured or killed, and Bucky Barnes fell from the cliff, his fate unknown. In the transport vehicle on the way back, the atmosphere was suffocatingly oppressive. Steve sat in a corner, holding his head, immersed in immense grief and self-reproach. Howard Stark silently drove the vehicle, his expression equally grim. Russell looked at the footage replaying on the camera, Bucky's eyes in the moment before he fell, Steve's furious roar of despair, and his anger when Zola was finally captured alive. Russell murmured softly, this time without teasing, only the calmness of a recorder. The loss of the Howling Commandos, the fallen knight, footage collected. Tragedy is often more unforgettable than comedy. However, Russell knew that Bucky was not dead, the brief separation was for a better reunion. Arnim Zola's capture was like tearing a huge gash in the beast that was Hydra, and the fearful Zola would reveal everything about Hydra in exchange for his life. In the SSR interrogation room, this short scientist was far less resilient than the weapons he designed. Under the successive interrogations of Colonel Phillips and Carter, he did not hold out for long, and in order to save himself, he answered almost every question. Zola revealed Hydra's last secret base, a massive fortress deep in the Alps, and Red Skull Johann Schmidt's insane plan to use the Tesseract's energy to launch devastating attacks on the world's major cities. Everyone thought Schmidt was crazy when they heard this plan, and at the same time, the US government was also very interested in the Tesseract. After all, with its help, Hydra's technology was able to lead the entire world. The atmosphere of the decisive battle instantly tensed. After experiencing the immense pain of Bucky's fall, Steve Rogers transformed all his sorrow and anger into a determination to destroy Hydra. He was actively preparing to lead the Howling Commandos in this final battle. Amidst this tense atmosphere, Russell found Colonel Phillips and made a seemingly reasonable request. Colonel, Dr. Zola's surrender and confession is a moment of great historical significance and propaganda value. I want to film a detailed documentary of his repentance and revelations. Through Dr. Zola's interview, it can also help us attract more Hydra or German scientists. After all, the Hydra ship is about to sink, and it's time for them to find a new home. Russell shook his camera, his expression professional and sincere. Colonel Phillips considered it and felt that the U.S. high-level had already formulated Operation Paperclip, and high-level talents like Zola were very valuable. If this documentary could indeed attract more scientists, it would be a great achievement. Zola was now a bird in a cage, unable to make waves, so the colonel approved Russell's request for an exclusive interview with Zola under strict supervision for a period of time. In the interrogation room, only Russell and the uneasy Zola remained. The red light on the camera lit up, recording everything. Dr. Zola, relax, Russell's voice carried a strange soothing power. He quietly activated environmental atmosphere influence, making the room's lighting softer and reducing Zola's instinctive fear and resistance. Let's talk about the future, your future. Zola looked at this strange reporter with confusion. Russell wasted no time. He looked directly into Zola's eyes and silently thought, System, activate famous scene replication. Replicate the psychological pressure and suggestive techniques from the scene where Batman interrogates a criminal in Batman, The Dark Knight, combined with director's commentary for deep hypnosis and command implantation. Although not as overbearing as a Mangekyo Sharingan, an extremely oppressive aura emanated from Russell. His gaze became sharp, his voice deep and filled with undeniable power, every word carrying weight, striking at Zola's fragile mental defenses. Arnim Zola, you see clearly, Red Skull's insane plan is doomed to fail. This broken ship of Hydra is about to sink. But you, your wisdom, should not be buried with it. Live on, lie low. The ideology of Hydra needs to continue in another form, more covert, smarter, parasitic in the body of the victors. The United States is suitable for Hydra to parasitize. Remember, your new mission is, lie low, infiltrate. Use your knowledge to enter the core of the order established by the victors in the future, for example, some global security organization they might establish. There, develop in the shadow, await your opportunity. Let the will of Hydra control everything from the shadows. This is the true victory, the greatest use of your wisdom. Cut off one head, two more shall grow. Do not take large-scale actions without my command in the future. Covert Operation Codename, Parasitic Beast. Russell's words were like a hypnotic spell, combined with the psychological pressure techniques brought by the famous scene, deeply implanting the ideas of lying low, infiltrating, and controlling, like seeds, deep into Zola's fearful and survival-craving brain. This was not complete mind control, but extreme guidance and psychological suggestion using his personality weaknesses and current desperate situation. Zola's eyes went from fear and confusion to a daze, and finally, his gaze became clear. He murmured, yes, I want to live, I want to show my wisdom, I want to make Hydra great. After Schmidt dies, I will be the true leader of Hydra. Successfully performed deep hypnosis and command implantation on Arnim Zola. Famous scene, Seed of Subversion, has been recorded. Meme energy plus 40. Meme energy is full, upgrade skill clapboard, intermediate, slightly stop or interfere with actors' actions over a larger range. After completing all this, Russell resumed his usual expression, packed up his equipment, as if he had only completed an ordinary interview. Thank you for your cooperation, Dr. Zola. Your confession record is very valuable, and I believe you will soon be taken seriously by the higher-ups. Subsequently, the ultimate decisive battle began. Steve Rogers led the Howling Commandos to attack Hydra's Snow Mountain Fortress. This battle was exceptionally brutal, and Russell chose to stay at the rear base. Russell did not want his butterfly effect to influence the final fated battle between Captain America Steve and Schmidt. After all, if Captain America did not hibernate in the Arctic Ocean, then a large part of the future fun would be lost. Russell stayed at the rear base also waiting for the U.S. government to salvage the Tesseract. As Howard Stark's capable assistant, he would surely have the opportunity to access the Tesseract. Soon this opportunity came. The news of Dr. Zola's reinstatement reached the base, and Howard and Russell were also preparing to pack their bags and leave this military base. Still no sign of Steve. Carter's face was streaked with tears as she asked the colonel for the latest news from the Arctic Ocean salvage team. Ever since she learned that the salvage team only found the Tesseract but not Captain America, Carter had been crying daily. She couldn't believe that her lover, Steve, had left her so dramatically, and their past vows of eternal companionship had turned into tears. However, none of this concerned Russell anymore. He had already accompanied Howard and Zola to the laboratory to study the Tesseract. Russell stood in front of the observation window of the laboratory, his gaze passing through the thick bulletproof glass, landing on the cube emitting a faint blue light, the Tesseract. It floated silently in a special force field, as if containing the energy of an entire star sea, beautiful and dangerous. In the laboratory, the Tesseract rotated serenely within a custom-made force field restraint, like a solidified blue gem, emitting energy pulses that did not belong to this dimension. Howard Stark meticulously recorded data, while Zola performed complex calculations at another terminal, attempting to understand the tip of this infinite energy iceberg. Russell's task was originally to assist in stabilizing the energy output frequency. But when he pressed his hand on the energy sensor plate, coordinating with the super brain for microscopic adjustments, a torrent of information, like a bursting dam, surged into his consciousness through his fingertips. High-dimensional energy information residue detected, analyzing. Analysis successful. Obtained unknown universe coordinates x1. Coordinate associated information fragments loaded. Symbiote, Life Foundation, Dr. Drake, Chaos and Devour. New set located. Venom, 2018, San Francisco. Hint. This universe has a lower energy level, stable physical rules, and is suitable for physical enhancement adaptation training and low-risk, filming missions. The information flood receded, and Russell withdrew his hand, his expression unchanged, as if he had only been momentarily distracted. He glanced at Howard and Zola, who were still enthusiastically discussing the Tesseract's potential energy applications, and a decision had already formed in his mind. The chaotic drama of Gotham had temporarily ended, and the epic drama of the Marvel Universe had entered an interlude due to Captain America's freezing and Red Skull's disappearance. It was time to switch to a more interesting and safer set to handle some personal matters. A few days later, Russell found Howard. "You're leaving." At this time, Howard was somewhat taken aback. Although the European battlefield was nearing its end, the subsequent technological applications and the establishment of S.H.I.E.L.D., he had already heard rumors, were crucial times for manpower, and Russell was a rare scientific research talent he admired. "Russell, your abilities could achieve great things here. We could create the future together." Russell smiled, his smile carrying a hint of the fatigue and relief unique to war survivors. Of course, it was an act. "Howard, the war is over. Steve is also missing. I have recorded enough history, and now I just want to find a quiet place to organize these materials and complete my true documentary." Russell paused, looking out at the New York streets outside the window. "This world needs rebuilding, and I'm already tired of all this. Perhaps someday in the future, when your future or your son's future needs to be recorded, I will return." He mentioned the half-joking, Godfather, agreement, his tone light, yet it made it impossible for Howard to insist he stay. Howard sighed, patting Russell's shoulder firmly. "All right, artists always have their quirks. Stay in touch, Russell. Stark Industries, or whatever organization it becomes in the future, will always have a place for you. Of course, you have to save me a seat as your child's godfather," Russell said with a smile, embracing him in farewell. Without a grand farewell ceremony, Russell, with his accumulated wealth, part of which was converted into easily portable gems and gold, his camera, and the Super Soldier Serum complete version he had just received in his system space, quietly left the 1945 Marvel Universe. Marvel Universe node has been preserved. Command confirmed. Multiverse set single round trip ticket, return, has been consumed. Target coordinates located. Venom, Universe, Time Node, 2018, San Francisco. Jump initiated. The sensation of space-time transition came again, but unlike the heavy feeling of traversing between Gotham and 1940s New York before, this time, the destination was the relaxed atmosphere of modern society, making Russell even somewhat expectant. 2018, California, United States, San Francisco. Russell appeared in a slightly messy but vibrant back alley. The air was filled with the scent of coffee, food trucks, and the salty dampness of the ocean, a stark contrast to the New York he had just left, which was filled with the smell of gunpowder and the dust of an old era. He quickly adapted to the environment, exchanged gold for enough cash, and rented a well-equipped, well-secured high-end apartment in the city center. Immediately after, he acquired a complete set of medical monitoring and injection equipment through some less than legal channels. Now, it was time to deal with that long-awaited reward. Inside the apartment's secret room, the lights were adjusted to a soft, cool white. Russell, shirtless, looked at the tube of liquid on the operating table, shimmering with a subtle blue glow, the Super Soldier Serum complete version. He took a deep breath. There was no Dr. Erskine's data testing, no Howard's energy matrix, but the super serum produced by the system should be fine. Russell skillfully drew the serum into an automatic injector and aimed the needle at his jugular vein. Without hesitation, he pressed the button. The moment the cold liquid surged into his bloodstream, drastic changes began. Unlike Steve's experience of surging energy and muscle reshaping in the activation chamber, although Russell's body had received the Superman serum, he could still feel the pain. Excruciating pain swept through his entire body, as if every cell was being torn apart and reassembled, but his super brain maintained a terrifying clarity, like a chief engineer standing outside the situation, guiding this power. Muscle density increasing, bone structure strengthening, metabolic rate breaking through threshold, nerve conduction speed surging. He could feel his strength climbing, his senses becoming incredibly acute, the whispered conversations in the adjacent apartment, the car horns several blocks away outside the window, all were clearly discernible. Every bit of his body's potential was being excavated and solidified. The entire process lasted for nearly an hour. When the last trace of pain receded, Russell slowly opened his eyes. He walked to the mirror. The man in the mirror had a more balanced and coordinated physique, with smooth and explosive muscle lines, like Bruce Lee's extremely condensed leanness. His skin was smooth and firm, and any existing scars had completely disappeared. The most significant change was in his eyes, which now held a sense of power as deep and calm as the sea. Summary. He became more handsome. He casually threw a punch, and a clear sonic boom echoed in the air. Speed, strength, reaction, endurance, and all-around improvement. Super Soldier Serum Complete Version Fusion Complete. Host Body Functions Enhanced, and Super Brain, perfectly retained. Obtained passive status, perfect metabolism, immune to most toxins and diseases, slows aging. Russell felt the surging power within him, his gaze directed towards the dazzling night view of San Francisco outside the window. Good. Now, the physical foundation is laid. He picked up the camera placed nearby, gently wiping the lens. Venom, a failed reporter, a down-and-out symbiote from outer space. What an interesting documentary subject. This time, I'll make a film. My roommate is Venom, an eating management guide from social phobia to anti-hero. Russell reviewed the movie's storyline, wanting to acquire Venom before Eddie and Venom established their bond. Action. New set tasks updated. 1. Record the iconic scene of Venom's birth possession. 2. Research and analyze the ecology and essential abilities of symbiotes. 3. Obtain a small symbiote sample, optional, high risk. Current. Venom, set meme energy, 0-100ths. The night rain in San Francisco showed no sign of stopping, the cold raindrops drumming against the sleek glass curtain wall of the Life Foundation building, twisting the reflected city neon into a blurry halo. For Russell, who had just completed his serum enhancement, this harsh weather was actually the best cover. He stood in the shadow of the building opposite, the eye of the fourth wall and the X-ray vision provided by his super sight operating at full speed, and soon the security measures of the Life Foundation were laid bare before him. The building's security level isn't low, but it lacks contingency plans for unconventional infiltration. They probably didn't anticipate an invasion by superhuman abilities, Russell assessed calmly, as if examining an unprofessional movie set. He didn't use any high-tech equipment, relying solely on his enhanced physical capabilities that surpassed human limits. With a running start and a jump, his fingers, like steel-forged grappling hooks, precisely latched onto tiny seams in the glass curtain wall, his body seemingly freed from gravity, as he rapidly climbed the nearly vertical wall. The rain soaked his clothes but didn't slow his movements in the slightest. Instead, it washed away any traces he might have left. Occasionally, the flashlight beam of a patrolling security guard swept past, but he merely used environmental atmosphere influence to subtly distort the surrounding light, perfectly blending into the background darkness and rain curtain. The entire process was silent, efficient, as simple as going home to fetch an ordinary item. Soon, he reached the target floor. With a skillful, silent cut through a piece of reinforced glass, Russell slipped into the interior corridor like a ghost. The eye of the fourth wall instantly locked onto the target. Inside the heavily fortified laboratory at the end of the corridor, a chaotic, hungry, and raw biological signal glowed like a lighthouse in the dark. Found you, Venom. Russell's lips curved into a barely perceptible smile as he strode towards the laboratory. He even had time to assess the lighting angles in the corridor, considering which camera angle would capture a more dramatic infiltration shot. The lab's electronic door lock was useless before him. Super brain, combined with small tools, cracked the code in mere seconds. The airtight door slid open silently, revealing various precision instruments and several cylindrical transparent isolation chambers. Inside the transparent isolation chambers were scenes of various miseries, all of them critically ill due to the symbiote's erosion, most of them innocent people captured by the Life Foundation. His gaze instantly locked onto one of the chambers. Inside, a seemingly living, constantly writhing and changing black viscous substance was covering an unconscious female homeless person, seemingly attempting an incomplete fusion. On the surface of the black substance, a wild, white eye occasionally materialized, scanning its surroundings uneasily. Target confirmed. Symbiote, Venom. Status: unstable, hungry, alert. Russell approached with steady steps, as if walking towards an actor he had chosen. He was already conceptualizing how to invite this temperamental new star to join his documentary. However, just as his finger was about to touch the control panel of the isolation chamber. Clang! The skylight glass above shattered with a crash. A red and black figure, in a dramatically theatrical pose, swung in like a pendulum, yelling, holding onto a seemingly casually picked up rope, landing steadily with a slightly exaggerated forward roll. Yo! Mr. Black, sticky, and rather unhygienic slime. The figure was Deadpool. He patted his uniform, which had no dust to begin with, and shouted in his voice changer processed, incessant voice. Don't be scared. Your destined, unbelievably handsome host is here. Come to Daddy, and let's form the universe's strongest, and handsomest, trash-talking duo. He opened his arms towards Venom's isolation chamber as if no one else was there, and then seemed to just notice there was another person in the lab. Deadpool tilted his head, the white eye patches on his mask blinking exaggeratedly, though they were just fabric, looking at Russell. Wait, there's another guy here, Slime Jelly. Wait till I knock him out, then I'll take you on an adventure. How about we go get revenge on Spider-Man, your former host? Haha, that'll be fun. Deadpool rapped his knuckles on his helmet, then cracked his fingers, making an unnaturally loud sound. Are you also here to apply to be the host for this black jelly blob? Listen, pal, first come, first served. Get in line. Take a number. And respect your elders and betters, let me go first. Or we can duel like men. I don't want to bully you. You know my lord can beat Wolverine to the ground and make him surrender. I advise you to give up. Bragging. Inside the isolation chamber, Venom seemed startled by the sudden noise and chaos. Black tendrils writhed uneasily, and the white eye darted between Russell and Deadpool, conveying a mix of wariness, confusion, and a hint of offended anger. Russell's movements paused. He slowly retracted the hand he had extended towards the control panel, looking expressionlessly at this eccentric intruder in a tight suit. Deadpool's overwhelming chaotic aura instantly reminded him of a certain green-haired old friend in Gotham. However, this guy's level of incessant chatter and narcissism was clearly a super-amplified version. Russell quickly made a judgment. Reasoning with a creature like Deadpool was like casting pearls before swine. To make him stop this farce, physical, silencing, was the only efficient option. If he didn't beat him into submission, this guy would definitely cling to him like a stubborn plaster, ruining all his plans. Without a single extra warning or word, Russell moved. Just as Deadpool was still cracking his exaggeratedly loud fingers and boasting about how he beat Wolverine, a cold light flashed in Russell's eyes, and he silently thought. Clapperboard action. An invisible, individual targeting stasis field instantly enveloped Deadpool. His incessant chatter abruptly ceased, and his finger-cracking motion violently paused like a glitching video. It was this several-second window of vulnerability. Russell pushed off with his feet, his enhanced body erupting with astonishing speed, the ground beneath his feet even showing faint cracks. Like a cannonball, a simple yet full-powered straight punch tore through the air, accompanied by a dull sonic boom, smashing fiercely into Deadpool's face, covered by his red and black mask. Bang! A solid, muffled thud. Deadpool didn't even have time to effectively block. He was like a 100-ton truck hitting him head-on at high speed, his feet leaving the ground, flying backward, and crashing heavily into an expensive, precision instrument behind him. Clang! The instrument casing dented, the screen shattered, electrical sparks flew everywhere, and only then did the alarm belatedly shriek loudly. Inside the isolation chamber, Venom's materialized white eye instantly widened, and his black body froze for a moment. Oh! Venom in the transparent isolation chamber actually manifested directly to watch the show. That really hurt. Russell maintained his punching posture, slowly retracting his fist, looking at the pile of instrument wreckage sparking with electricity. He knew that this level of attack was nothing to that immortal guy. Sure enough, the next second, the pile of wreckage began to squirm. Whoa! Cough cough! Deadpool pulled himself out of the instrument debris, rubbing his clearly caved-in nose bridge under the mask. Dude, do you know how much it costs to fix this handsome face? Although it'll heal itself right away, the point is attitude. Your attitude is too rough. I've decided to extort $1 million from you. You know, boys my age aren't easy to placate. He wobbled upright, his head unnaturally tilted to one side, his neck bone clearly broken, but he nonchalantly crunched it back into place with his hand. Hitting me in the face without a word. And so fast. So strong. Didn't your my lord teach you not to hit people in the face? You ill-mannered brat, my lord Deadpool will immediately make up for your lack of manners. Deadpool's white eye patches stared intently at Russell. Even after being beaten like this, Deadpool still didn't stop his broken mouth, continuously spewing trash talk. He stretched his shoulders, then pulled out his twin katanas from behind his back, their blades glinting coldly in the lab lights. Alright, I take back what I said earlier. You don't have to wait in line. Deadpool's voice became dangerous and gleeful. Let's skip the boring interview process and go straight to the exciting part. Whoever beats the other down gets to take the black jelly. Take this. Before his words finished, he had already crossed his twin katanas, and with a burst of insane laughter, he charged at Russell again. Deadpool's twin katanas carved two silver arcs, slashing towards Russell with a maniacal laugh. In the cramped laboratory, the blare of alarms, the crackle of electrical sparks, and Deadpool's shouts merged into a chaotic symphony. Russell's eyes showed no fluctuation, but he was annoyed by Deadpool's unexpected appearance. Super Brain was coldly calculating Deadpool's attack routes, while also sifting through the optimal counterattack plans. Under Super Brain's hypercomputation, Deadpool's seemingly wild and swift movements became clear, even appearing slightly sluggish. He didn't meet the attack head-on, he merely shifted his body slightly as if anticipating it, and the blade grazed past his chest by mere millimeters. In the instant they passed each other, Russell's elbow precisely and viciously slammed into Deadpool's ribs. Crack. A clear sound of bone fracturing. Ow. My ribs. They're filled with limited edition Rainbow Dash bubblegum, you owe me. Deadpool let out an exaggerated cry of pain, but his movements didn't stop for a moment. Using the momentum, he spun like a top, his other katana already cunningly slicing towards Russell's lower body. Hey. Poker-faced pretty boy. Your fighting style is too serious, like a by-the-book 80s children's action movie where they don't even let you spray much blood. Watch some Quentin Tarantino, okay. More gore. More chatter. Get the audience hyped. Box office guaranteed to double. Russell simply hopped back expressionlessly, elegantly avoiding the blade, then unhesitatingly activated his ability, scene clapboard, again. Deadpool's poised charge instantly froze, as if a pause button had been abruptly pressed. Although it was only for an instant, the sense of stagnation, defying the laws of physics, shocked him. WTF. What the hell? Deadpool steadied his drunken-like body, incredulously patting his helmet. Glitching again. Where's the script supervisor? Where's the director? Who wrote this crappy script? Can the action director put some effort in? I'm going to complain about you guys to the union. Before he finished speaking, his hands lightning fast reached for the Desert Eagle pistols at his waist, drawing and firing. Bang bang bang. The bullets struck Russell's enhanced body, but only sparked a few fires, leaving no white mark, and the bullet heads fell to the ground. Whoa. Whoa whoa whoa. Deadpool whistled, the white eye covers on his mask wide. Hey, bro, is your skin made of vibranium? What brand of steroids do you usually take? Recommend some. I want to get some too, so next time I can arm wrestle Thanos and win his gauntlet. Seeing that the Desert Eagle couldn't even manage a scratch, Deadpool disdainfully threw the gun away, picked up his twin katanas again, and brandished them in a dazzling display of blade work purely for show, with no practical combat value, charging forward once more. I've been in the Marvel universe for so many years, and I've never seen anyone like you. Tell me. Are you a freak who smuggled in from the DC universe next door? For the sake of us both being spandex enthusiasts, can you give me Wonder Woman's or Catwoman's contact info? If not, introducing me to Ms. Martha would be fine too. Batman and Superman's mother's name. Russell's mouth finally twitched at the endless trash talk. I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to handle that fate. With that, his mind stirred, and famous scene replication activated. Target. Wolverine vs. Deadpool. Instantly, Russell felt a slight tearing sensation and a tingling of something growing in his forearm. He looked down and saw 3 gleaming adamantium claws, snick, out from between his fingers. Whoa 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 whoa. Deadpool's charge came to a screeching halt. He exaggeratedly stepped back, pointing his katana tip at Russell's claws. So you're Wolverine's relative. My apologies. Logan and I have a life and death friendship, mainly my life and death. He's responsible for making sure I have a life. By that reckoning, quickly call me Uncle Wade. Alright, put those claws away. It's too dangerous for kids to play with, it's not good to scratch the flowers and grass. Russell was too lazy to waste any more words with him. He dodged Deadpool's tentative slash by turning sideways, then his arm, embedded with the steel claws, shot out like a venomous snake, thrusting forward violently. PFF'd. The adamantium claws pierced through Deadpool's chest without resistance, emerging from his back. Deadpool looked down at the 3 shining blade tips protruding from his chest, and even had the leisure to quip, "Hey. It's very impolite to make holes in someone without permission. But this angle of looking at my internal organs is quite novel. Hey, my liver looks like it needs to quit drinking." A cold light flashed in Russell's eyes, and he suddenly exerted force on his arm, pulling it sideways. Rip. A teeth-grinding tearing sound rang out, and Deadpool's body was almost cut in half, with only some tissue and his spine barely connected, the 2 halves of his body slumping downwards. Oh, how annoying. Even in this state, the 2 halves of his body were still trying to regenerate, and made gurgling sounds. Are you so fond of my inner beauty? What do you think? Are you captivated by my inner self? By the way, have you seen where my kidney fell? I remember the left one looked quite good. Just then, the protagonist, pushed to his limit by the noise pollution from the 2, especially Deadpool, finally erupted. Inside the isolation chamber, Venom could no longer tolerate it. The black symbiote substance boiled and expanded, forcefully distorting and tearing open the reinforced chamber door seams. A more complete, terrifying head covered in sharp teeth coalesced, its white eyes burning with pure fire, staring intently at the 2 entangled figures. A furious voice exploded directly in their minds. "You 2 lunatics. So noisy. Get away from me. If you make any more noise, I'll rip out your tongues and eat them." One of its thick black tentacles suddenly whipped out like a giant python, no longer a warning strike to the ground, but carrying a foul wind, it savagely swept towards Russell and Deadpool's 2 still babbling halves. Deadpool's upper body reacted extremely quickly, rolling away by propping himself up with his hands, while not forgetting to point at Venom and excitedly shout to Russell, "Look. It can even do a rapid-fire monologue. Its voice is magnetic and violent. I love it. This is the roommate I've always dreamed of." He then turned to Venom and shouted, "Don't worry, my little black sweetheart. Once Daddy here deals with this poker-faced guy with claws, I'll take you out for delicious food and drink, Michelin 3-star chef brains galore." Of course, this muscle man's brain looks pretty chewy too. Russell's frown deepened, the impatience in his eyes almost materializing. The information fed back by the eye of the 4th wall showed that Venom's emotions had escalated from unstable to berserk, its hunger and aggressiveness were both skyrocketing. "Shut your mouth." Russell's tone was icy, delivering a final ultimatum to Deadpool, while his gaze sharply locked onto Venom's restless black body. Super Brain was operating at overload, calculating how to control the soon-to-be rampage symbiote while dealing with this immortal motor mouth. Outside the laboratory, dense, heavy footsteps and the click-clack of weapons being cocked indicated that Life Foundation security personnel had arrived at the door, ready to clear the area. Just as Venom's furious tentacles swept over, Russell easily avoided them with an elegant backflip, not forgetting to comment, "The movements are wide enough, but they lack beauty, like a black mop with its tail stepped on." Deadpool's upper body was still fumbling on the ground. "Where's my kidney? Where did my priceless left kidney go?" In this chaos, Venom made an unexpected decision. It did not continue its attack, but instead receded like an ebbing tide, abandoning the weak female vagrant. The black substance, like a living tide, surged towards the female researcher who had just come in to check the situation. Drive. Dora Skirth. Almost instantly, the mandatory preliminary fusion was complete. Dr. Skirth suddenly opened its eyes, now only showing Venom's iconic white giant eyes and a mouth full of fangs. It let out a roar full of anger and irritation, slammed open the deformed hatch, and shot like a black lightning bolt towards the shattered window. Its goal was clear. Escape. Get away from the red noise source and that critical photographer. Hey! Our black baby is running off with someone else. Deadpool's lower body shot back with a whoosh, completing the connection with his upper body. He pointed at the window and shouted with great distress, "This is a problem for left-behind children from single-parent families. We must chase it back and give it a complete, loving, mainly my love, family environment." Russell watched the disappearing black shadow, and the eye of the fourth wall instantly locked onto its trajectory. Far from being anxious, he showed a hint of an interesting smile. "Temporary truce," Russell said in a relaxed tone. "The script for this episode has changed. The protagonist ran away, but the show can't stop." Agreed. 100% agreed. Deadpool raised his hands, moving so fast that he left afterimages. "We can't let our child be led astray by that bookworm. What if she teaches it calculus or to read academic papers? That will corrupt the child. That's worse than making me die." Russell raised an eyebrow. "I thought you couldn't die." Before he finished speaking, Russell had already shot towards the window like an arrow from a bowstring. "Spiritual death is also death, fella. Spiritual death." Deadpool yelled loudly, but his movements were not slow at all. He almost used both hands and feet to follow, muttering incessantly. "Wait for me. Do you know how hard custody battles are? And tell me your name. I don't want the child not to recognize its parents." "Russell." Russell called out his name and leapt out of the window. "Russell. Disney's new superhero Alloy Wolf. How come I didn't get a notification? Hey, fella, are you on the wrong set?" The two jumped out of the broken window of the tall building, one after the other. Russell, relying on his enhanced body, precisely grasped the protrusions and pipes on the exterior wall during his descent, rapidly moving downwards like a nimble ape in the mountains. Deadpool followed closely, firing his grappling hook gun at the building opposite, swinging through the air in an exaggerated arc, and not forgetting to shout to any potential night owls below. Emergency announcement. Has anyone seen a running, emotionally unstable black non-Newtonian fluid? That's my lost child. Reward for information is a kiss from Uncle Deadpool. Below, several sounds of frightened windows closing were heard. However, the Life Foundation's response was not slow. The exits on the ground floor of the building and the surrounding streets had already been sealed off by well-equipped security teams who had arrived upon hearing the news. Several black armored vehicles blocked the way, and security personnel in bulletproof vests and armed with automatic weapons formed a dense network of firepower. Target spotted. 2 unknown intruders. Open fire. Commander ordered. Instantly, gunfire erupted. Dense bullets poured down like a storm on Russell, who had just landed, and Deadpool, who was swinging down. "Whoa! Party time!" Deadpool yelled excitedly, his dual swords a blur, and although he didn't actually hit and deflect many bullets, the clanging looked cool, ignoring the bullet holes in his body. He even had time to strike a few bodybuilding poses, shouting at the security personnel, "Come on. Shoot here. Give Grandpa a tickle." Russell's response was much more efficient. He used his super brain to calculate trajectories, making various evasive movements in the hail of bullets, moving so fast that he left streaks of afterimages. Even if an unavoidable bullet occasionally hit his enhanced body, it only made a dull thud, which he ignored, unable to cause more damage. "Good camera presence, Deadpool," Russell even quipped in the interim, "especially that spin when you got hit. It has a very Baroque tragic aesthetic, it's just that the blood spray isn't artistic enough, remember to adjust the angle next time. Do you think this is filming, Kill Bill? This is realistic style. Documentary channel, understand?" Deadpool retorted while using a security guard as a shield. "Left to you, right to me," Russell instructed while moving, his tone like he was assigning tasks on a film set. "Roger that, Director." Deadpool saluted comically, rushing to the left like a runaway husky. "Watch me." Deadpool's peerless dance. "Remember to give me extra drumsticks for this action scene. Or just transfer money directly to my card number is." Russell, meanwhile, cut into the right side squad like a ghost. He didn't use his steel claws, but relied purely on speed and strength. With one punch, he sent a security guard, body and bulletproof vest, flying, knocking down 2 people behind him. Then Russell snatched another person's submachine gun with a backhand, and without looking, precisely fired at the non-lethal parts of the other few, instantly neutralizing their combat effectiveness. The two, one on the left and one on the right, one creating chaotic comedy, the other performing violent aesthetics, were strange yet harmonious. Done. So easy. Deadpool kicked away the unconscious security guard at his feet, shook his swords, which actually had no blood, and looked at Russell. How about it, partner? Our combination is simply the perfect blend of violence and humor. The Oscars owe us a golden statuette. Now let's go chase our rebellious star child. Russell ignored his acceptance speech, the eye of the fourth wall once again guiding the direction. This way, he said succinctly, his figure darting forward. Deadpool immediately followed, his mouth still going strong. Wait for me. I think we need to get our story straight. What if the child asks how it came to be? Should we say we found it in a trash can? Or that it came with a phone top-up? Or tell it that it's the love child accidentally born from a romantic side-by-side battle between an irresponsible director and a handsome mercenary? I think we also need to discuss the child's surname. With your surname or mine. Or call it, Deadpool Russell. Doesn't sound dominant enough. In the night, two figures, one quiet and one noisy, merged into the city lights, chasing that hungry, angry, and almost collapsing black symbiote, pressured by its two prospective parents. This farce was far from over. Two figures sped through the streets of San Francisco at night. The enhanced Russell was like a cheetah, his strengthened legs bursting with astonishing power and speed, each stride covering a distance unimaginable to ordinary people. Unfortunately, the howling night wind swept past his ears but couldn't carry away the incessant chatter of Deadpool behind him, which was like a demonic spell. Vroom, 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 a faint but continuous engine sound came from beside him. Russell glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw Deadpool, who had somehow acquired a pink scooter with a plush teddy bear hanging from the handlebars. Deadpool's tall figure almost completely enveloped the small scooter. He was curled up, one hand awkwardly twisting the throttle, the other enthusiastically patting the empty back seat, his white eye covers on his mask squeezed into a slit, trying to project the image of a sincere, reliable, good teammate. Hey, Mr. Director. Don't run. How inelegant. Come on, baby. Let Uncle Wade give you a taste of lightning speed. At least the maximum wind resistance this thing can provide. Deadpool's voice was a bit distorted by the wind, but its volume was comparable to a public square dance speaker. Russell didn't even bother to give him a look, his speed undiminished, even subtly quickening a bit. What? You dislike my pink shadow? Deadpool persisted, twisting the throttle to the max, and the small scooter let out a mournful roar, barely keeping pace with Russell. This color. This texture. It perfectly combines my flamboyant style with my environmental philosophy. We're contributing to Mother Earth, understand? This is a superhero's self-cultivation. Russell remained silent, merely making a sharp turn at an intersection, trying to shake off this source of noise. Deadpool's reaction was also quick. With a thrilling drift, the scooter's tires screeched, and it stubbornly followed again, its pink body particularly conspicuous under the streetlights. I say, Director Russell, Deadpool began his earnest admonishment. You're good in every way, but you lack team spirit. Look at the Avengers, they take a Quinjet for missions. And look at Batman and Robin, at least they have a Batmobile. And us. One running on foot, one driving a child's toy car. Is this acceptable? If word gets out, what about the reputation of our temporary parenting alliance? He paused, watching Russell effortlessly overtake a normally driven sports car with a blank expression, his tone becoming resentful. Or are you secretly in love with my ride, but too embarrassed to say it? Fine, seeing as you're the other dad to my kids, letting you ride it once isn't out of the question, but it'll cost extra. And don't you dare damage my teddy bear. Russell's eyebrow finally twitched involuntarily. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to ignore the endless chatter, and concentrated more of super brain's computing power on tracking the residual energy signal of the symbiote. The black symbiote, holding the doctor, was moving quickly, and seemed to be deliberately avoiding main roads, choosing to travel through dark alleys. Shut up. Russell finally squeezed out 2 words through gritted teeth, his voice cold. Another word, and next time I'll freeze your throat. Wow. A threat. This is a blatant threat. Deadpool, however, became even more excited, even wiggling his butt on the motorcycle, causing the little panda to sway. But I like it. It proves our relationship has upgraded from strangers to intimate partners who can threaten each other. Don't worry, Uncle Wade's driving skills are top notch. Forget this little pink car. Even if you give me a skateboard, I could slide out a trailer for Fast and Furious 12 feet for you. He continued to ride the comical pink scooter, stubbornly keeping pace with Russell's super soldier speed, maintaining a one-sided verbal assault. From complaining about Russell's hairstyle to discussing which Mexican burrito was the best, from guessing what flavor of brains the symbiote preferred to lamenting that his kidney, which fell off during the earlier fight, might have been swept away by cleaners. Deadpool's thought process was too erratic, making it difficult for Russell to respond immediately. This allowed Deadpool to take advantage, continuously launching verbal attacks while Russell was highly focused. Russell's face was expressionless, his gaze firmly tracking the target, but his tightly pressed lips and occasional bursts of speed, attempting to shake off the pink nuisance behind him, betrayed his inner impatience, which was nearing its limit. The night view of San Francisco rapidly receded around them, as an extremely incongruous chase, composed of a super soldier, an immortal chatterbox, a pink scooter, and an escaping symbiote, unfolded. Chaos, pain, hunger. These were the only three sensations remaining in the symbiote's consciousness. Forcibly occupying the body of the woman named Dr. Doris Skrull felt like squeezing itself into a too small, ill-fitting bodysuit. This body was too fragile. It completely lacked a sense of power. The two madmen in the lab earlier, one contained terrifying energy, and the other, well, the red one was pure noise pollution. Escape. Must escape. This was its most primal instinct. It controlled Dr. Skrull's body, unleashing strength and speed far beyond the body's limits, dashing through the intricate alleys of San Francisco. Black, viscous matter occasionally seeped from her back, forming temporary grappling hooks, helping her climb over obstacles and briefly scale vertical walls. But hunger, like a raging fire, burned every one of its cells. I need brains, chemicals and energy. It sniffed the tempting aroma of food wafting through the air. A drunken homeless man was slumped beside a trash can at the alley entrance, exuding a not-so-fresh but still palatable scent. This is it. The symbiote controlled Dr. Skrull's body, stealthily approaching like a predator. Black tendrils extended from her palms, their tips splitting open to reveal tiny teeth, aiming for the homeless man's unguarded temple. Just then, bang! A pink, extremely garish scooter, with an incredibly tricky and utterly unnecessary drift, suddenly swerved sideways, blocking the alley entrance. Its tires screeched against the pavement, directly obstructing the symbiote's path. The red and black figure riding it waved his arms dramatically. Hey, black baby. Eating random things will give you diarrhea. Especially expired food like this. Deadpool's voice echoed loudly in the narrow alley. Come home with daddy, there's something fresher at home. Ah, like the brain of that gloomy guy running behind me. Looks very chewy. The symbiote let out a disturbed growl, its white eyes contracting with anger. It's that red fly again. Haunting me. It unhesitatingly abandoned its target and turned to dart towards the other end of the alley. Hunger urged it to find the next prey. Soon, it locked onto a young man who had just walked out of a 24-hour convenience store, scrolling on his phone with earphones in. He looked very focused, his brain should be quite active. The symbiote approached like a shadow, its tendrils rising again. Whoosh! A figure leapt down from a fire escape of a nearby building with superhuman speed, landing precisely between it and the young man. It was Russell. He was expressionless, as if passing by coincidentally, using his body to separate the predator from the prey. The lens of his miniature camera on his chest reflected a faint glow in the night, pointed directly at the symbiote. This plainclothes guy. The symbiote roared inwardly, he's looking at me like I'm a lab rat. What exactly does he want? The symbiote dared not fight, turning again to escape. The young man seemed to sense something amiss, looking up in confusion, only to see two blurry figures rapidly disappearing into the depths of the alley and a distant, nonsensical shout of, "Don't be afraid. City Hall is doing noise testing." Just as Venom's feeding was interrupted by the two, and his hunger and anger were about to reach their peak, the roar of helicopter rotors came from the sky in the distance, and the screeching sound of tires rubbing came simultaneously from both ends of the alley. Several black armored vehicles, emblazoned with the Life Foundation logo, blocked the entrances and exits of the narrow alley. The doors opened, and out jumped not ordinary security personnel, but elite squads in exoskeleton armor, armed with energy weapons. The helicopters hovered overhead, constantly monitoring the situation inside the alley. The red aiming lasers from the Foundation team's guns instantly locked onto the three anomalous targets in the alley. Whoa, quite a show. Deadpool slowly dismounted from his pink scooter, carefully parking it against the wall and gently patting the seat. Baby, wait here. Daddy's going to teach these naughty guys a parenting lesson. When he turned around, his twin blades were already unsheathed, and his tone suddenly became serious. It seems gentle education won't work. It's time to show the authority of us joint parents. You, Deadpool pointed at Russell, are responsible for the violent output. I'm responsible for mental interference. As for our hungry little friend, Deadpool poked his thumb at his chest, then winked at Venom. He's responsible for making the scene look like an R-rated movie. Russell flexed his wrist, and the adamantium claws popped out with a click. He glanced at the restless Venom. If you don't want to be locked back in a lab, come help. Venom let out a frustrated roar, black substance surging out, its white eyes fixed on the enemies. The battle unfolded in an incredibly absurd manner. Deadpool, like a red bomb, directly crashed into the enemy group, his twin blades flailing without any discernible technique but with excellent results. This move is called Deadpool's chaotic cloak blade style. Watch closely, kids. This slash will be super cool. The essence is, to make the enemy never guess where your next slash will land. He chopped people while providing live commentary, even finding time to twist the camera on an enemy's helmet to face himself, striking poses from time to time. Come on, give me a close-up. This part will definitely make it into the top 10 coolest Marvel superheroes compilation. The damage caused by these soldiers' energy guns on Deadpool was merely a splash of water in the face of Deadpool's super self-healing. Russell's combat was a different scene entirely. He calmly weaved through the hail of bullets, his adamantium claws precisely tearing through armor with every swing, creating a shower of sparks. His movements were clean and efficient, without an ounce of wasted motion. Your teaching skills are worse than your blade skills, he commented coldly during a dodge. This is edutainment. Deadpool protested, casually throwing an enemy towards Russell. Catch. Family bonding time. Russell dodged, watching the human cannonball knock over another enemy. Your aim needs special training. This is improvisation. Art doesn't need aim. Venom unleashed all its fury on these unfortunate soldiers. Black tentacles sometimes transformed into heavy hammers, smashing people away, and other times became sharp spikes, piercing through armor. Occasionally, it would open its maw, swallowing soldiers whole to replenish energy. Tastes bad. A grumpy thought echoed in both their minds. Being a picky eater isn't a good habit. Deadpool shouted while deflecting an energy beam, you need a balanced diet. There was no tactical communication between the three, yet they displayed a bizarre synergy. Russell. That big guy on the right wants to use a rocket launcher. Deadpool yelled. Russell didn't even turn his head, a clapperboard move freezing the heavy armored soldier's actions for a few seconds. Venom's tentacles then seized the opportunity to whip out, flattening the rocket launcher and the soldier against the wall. Beautiful. Problem family violence aesthetics, is simply impeccable. Deadpool excitedly waved his arms and even found time to make a heart gesture towards Russell. Russell ignored him, his adamantium claws tearing through the armor of the last standing enemy, ending the brief but efficient battle. The alley instantly fell silent, leaving only Deadpool's lingering gasps and Venom's impatient growls. The helicopter, sensing trouble, had already climbed higher and left the scene. Family team building a complete success. Deadpool sheathed his blades, made a bowing gesture, then looked at Russell with a pitiful expression. Director, is there a bento box after work? The kid seems to be getting so hungry he's about to make us his snack. Russell glanced at the highly unstable energy fluctuations of Venom, then at the increasingly approaching police sirens outside the alley, and decisively turned, follow. He didn't waste any words, moving quickly in one direction. Deadpool immediately scurried after him, muttering, that's more like it. Is there a first aid kit in the safe house? I think I might have been shot a few times, but it's okay, the wounds have already healed, it's mainly psychological trauma, I need the comfort of a psychologist. Franklin. Venom controlled its body, warily looking at the mess on the ground, then at the two leaving figures. Finally, the unbearable hunger made it let out a low growl, reluctantly following them. Russell led them through several hidden paths to the back of an inconspicuous building. After complex biometric verification, a heavy metal door silently slid open. This safe house was an emergency stronghold he had prepared at great expense. After the three entered, the door quietly closed behind them. The safe house had a minimalist industrial style, and cool-toned lights automatically illuminated the space. Deadpool immediately looked around curiously upon entering, then collapsed onto an expensive leather sofa. Whoa, standard safe house setup. Is there a game console? I think we need some healthy family electronic entertainment. Venom, meanwhile, huddled in the corner closest to the door, its white eyes scanning back and forth between its two temporary partners with distrust. Russell walked to the beverage station, poured himself a glass of water, then looked at Venom in the corner, his tone as calm as if discussing a script. All right, the irrelevant personnel have been cleared out. Now, we can sit down and have a good chat about your future acting contracts. Will you choose to perform an endless farce with him? He pointed at Deadpool. Or consider working with me to make a blockbuster that better suits your potential. Deadpool immediately raised his hand in protest. Hey. What do you mean, farce? Mine is called the Deadpool and His Happy Pals family comedy series. Box office guarantee. Also, I demand joint custody. He's with me on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with you on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and on Sunday, the kid is free to forage for food. Venom occupied the corner closest to the door, its black symbiote substance writhing restlessly on Dr. Dora's body. Its fanged head turned vigilantly to the left, then to the right, its white eyes scanning back and forth between Russell's calm demeanor and Deadpool's eagerness. Deadpool sprawled casually on a seemingly expensive sofa in the center of the room, even propping his feet on the coffee table, his two katanas resting idly beside him. The white eye mask on his face tried to convey a sincere expression, and he was the first to break the silence. All right, the family meeting is now in session. First, welcome our wayward little black darling back to the warm, temporarily safe harbor. He spread his arms, his tone as enthusiastic as if he were hosting a variety show. So, now it's time for the crucial voting segment. Venom, the coolest black jelly in this universe, do you choose me, your perfect partner who is witty, immortal, and can take you to taste all the delicacies in the world? Or do you choose that utterly boring Russell opposite? Deadpool patted his chest, making thumping sounds. Considering you don't have a brain capacity setting, let's just assume you chose me. We can watch all the restricted movies together, complain about all the superheroes, tight suit fashion sense, eat everything we want, like the brains of certain particularly annoying directors who always yell, cut. My treat. After speaking, Deadpool winked provocatively at Russell. Russell ignored his provocation, he still leaned by the drink counter, holding his glass of water, his tone as calm as if he were stating experimental data. Cooperate with me, he began, his voice clearly overriding Deadpool's lingering words. I can provide stable, highly efficient energy supply far beyond chocolate. A top-tier research brain can help you understand your own mysteries, optimize symbiote mode, and even develop your potential. And his gaze swept over Venom, carrying the scrutiny of a recorder, the opportunity to record and present the great undertaking we create together. An unprecedented documentary. Venom's white eyes narrowed, and a thought mixed with dissatisfaction and a hint of interest exploded in both their minds. I don't want to be researched. I also hate being recorded. Like a lab rat. It paused, its massive black head tilting slightly towards Russell, but a stable energy supply sounds pretty good. He's lying to you. Deadpool immediately accused loudly, springing from the sofa and pointing at Russell. See. His control freak nature is exposed. Research, record, optimize. The next step will be slicing and observing. With me, you have absolute freedom. Eat what you want, go where you want, complain about whoever you want. We are the embodiment of chaos, the symbol of freedom. Russell took a sip of water, not even lifting an eyelid. Your absolute freedom is equivalent to being hunted down and besieged by the entire world, and being cut into pieces. Although you don't care, what about it? His gaze turned to Venom, can you reassemble infinitely? Do you want to live forever in a cycle of escape and consuming low-quality food? Venom looked at Deadpool. What he said seems to make some sense. It recalled the terrible taste of those Life Foundation soldiers in the previous battle. Immediately after, it suddenly turned to Russell again, its white eyes widening further, full of doubt. But you. You look at us as if you're looking at a stone that needs to be polished. A perverted scientist. A director, Russell corrected calmly. I polish plots and characters, not stones. Moreover, I offer a long-term meal ticket, he offers expired brains. Hey. That's slander. Deadpool protested, I can also provide a long-term meal ticket. For example, we could start a villain delivery company together. You'd be responsible for delivery, and I'd be responsible for taking orders and complaining about bad reviews. Venom let out an irritated growl, its black tendrils waving wildly in the air. It looked at Deadpool, the red noise source that promised chaos and fun. Then it looked at Russell, the calm control freak who offered stability and research. Hunger burned, reason struggled, and both choices seemed like different flavors of poison. I need to think. It finally roared, its massive body shrinking back, recondensing into the female doctor's form, though black substance still flowed restlessly beneath her skin, expressing its extreme inner turmoil. Deadpool threw up his hands, slumping back onto the sofa. All right, give the kid some time to think. But director, while it's thinking, can we order some takeout first? I'm genuinely hungry, and I strongly suspect your safe house only has military rations and mineral water. Russell finally put down his water glass, looking at Deadpool with a hint of, why are you still here? Helplessness. Deadpool's takeout suggestion echoed in the safe house, only Venom's suppressed growl and Russell's silent gaze answered him. Think. Deadpool exaggeratedly spread his hands, what's there to think about? Choose me, and you choose a 24-hour non-stop talk show plus action blockbuster. Choose him. He suddenly pointed at Russell, that's choosing the Science Discovery channel on repeat, plus a control freak director who might cut you into a documentary at any moment. Russell walked to the control panel and operated it a few times. The wall slid open, revealing a fully stocked food cabinet, neatly arranged with high-energy compressed rations and nutrient paste. Basic supplies are here, Russell's voice was calm. As for takeout, the Life Foundation's tracking system isn't just for show. It's these things again. Deadpool wailed, they taste like chewing on styrofoam. We need real food. Like that Mexican burrito place down the street. Russell picked up a tube of nutrient paste and walked towards Venom. This contains concentrated phenethylamine precursors, it's far more efficient than what you extract from organic carriers. Venom's tendrils tentatively wrapped around the nutrient paste. Don't eat that. Deadpool yelled, that's for robots. Listen, come with me, I know a few black market dealers who specialize in fresh, exciting, special ingredients. Venom's tendrils paused. Russell looked coldly at Deadpool. If you go out, the exposure probability exceeds 80%. Do you want to test if Venom can survive under heavy firepower? Troublesome, Venom pierced the packaging and squeezed the liquid into its mouth. Better than those tin cans. But it lacks satisfaction. See. It needs satisfaction. Deadpool seized on the point, the kid needs an authentic experience. Efficiency takes precedence over experience. Russell walked to the control console. I can formulate custom nutrient solutions to precisely meet your phenethylamine needs. Custom. Curiosity emerged in Venom's mind, quickly covered by wariness, more experiments. Precise supply, Russell corrected, for example, simulating the phenethylamine release curve in chocolate. Deadpool immediately changed tactics, leaning close to Venom. Don't believe him. It's all a trick. Follow me, we can raid a Hydra base. Their members' brains must be full of evil pleasure substances. Hydra. Venom questioned. Another group of tight suit enthusiasts, their brains must be extra potent. Deadpool explained with a serious air. Russell sighed. Freedom's prerequisite is survival. Under my protection, you can safely evaluate all options. Venom was silent for a moment, its white eyes moving between the two. We need food. Now, it finally roared at Russell, both an urgent demand for phenethylamine and a test of Russell's sincerity. High-purity cocoa extract mixed with phenethylamine precursors, ready in 8 minutes, Russell walked to the control console. Deadpool was dumbfounded. Chocolate. I spent all that time telling you about an exciting brain buffet, and you ended up choosing chocolate. Russell didn't look back. Not just chocolate. This is why you should read more. Clearly, when it comes to understanding the client's true needs, you still need further study. Deadpool. For the first time in a verbal battle, he felt defeated, an intellectual crushing, he had nothing to say. The scales of this host qualification seminar were quietly tipping due to the difference in understanding core needs. Inside the safe house, a blurry surveillance video was playing on the holographic projection. It was footage Russell had obtained through special channels, showing Dr. Carlton Drake in the Life Foundation's top-secret laboratory. In the video, Drake's body was enveloped by a silver-gray, more aggressive symbiote substance, exuding a far more brutal oppressive aura than venom. All right, looks like our school board president found a new roommate, Deadpool whistled, but the usual playfulness was missing from his tone. And a big, gray roommate who doesn't seem to have any sense of humor. Russell turned off the projection, his tone grave. Not a roommate, it's a fusion. According to the intercepted fragmented information and analysis, this symbiote, called Riot, is highly aligned with Drake's ambition. Their goal isn't research, it's invasion. He pulled up another set of data, a summoning signal from the symbiote homeworld. They plan to use spaceships to bring millions of symbiotes to Earth. Ha! Alien invasion. Classic plot. Deadpool slapped his thigh. This is going to be lively. We can film, Independence Day 3. Spandex enthusiasts vs. Alien jelly. This isn't a movie, Russell interrupted coldly. If they succeed, millions of symbiotes will descend upon Earth, and Earth's ecology and existing order will completely collapse. Drake and Riot will become the masters of this planet. Riot. Venom's thought echoed in the safe house, carrying clear apprehension, even a hint of fear. It is one of our strongest warriors, brutal and merciless. If it cooperates with that mad human, they will turn this world into hell and attract more raiders. So, we must stop them. Russell's gaze swept over Deadpool and Venom. Before they successfully open the portal, we must destroy their flight launch device, or eliminate Riot and Drake. Plan time. Deadpool immediately jumped up, rubbing his hands excitedly. My plan is, I put on my shiniest uniform, parachute directly into their party, and use my dual swords and witty remarks to cut that big gray guy into sushi rolls. As for Drake, I can drum on his head. Codename. Deadpool's solo show, with 2 spectators. Russell didn't even look up at his suicidal performance proposal, merely calmly turned off the holographic projection. No plan needed. His tone was indifferent, as if he were discussing what to eat for dinner. Huh. This left Deadpool stunned. In his eyes, Russell should at least propose 3 plans. A, B, and C. Dude, they're about to summon an alien army to destroy the world. We should at least have a B plan, like how to escape gracefully if we can't win. Russell interrupted him, his gaze sweeping over Venom. What we need isn't a plan, it's efficiency. Venom, temporary bonding. Now. It's about time. Venom's thought carried an uncontrollable battle intent and a hint of apprehension towards Riot. The black symbiote substance instantly peeled off the doctor, surging towards Russell like a living tide. With almost no resistance, the black substance quickly enveloped Russell. The moment of possession, Venom let out a comfortable purr. Russell, your body is amazing, you're truly my dream host. After being injected with the Captain America and Superman serums, Russell's physical qualities had already approached Thor's, and his other abilities were further enhanced by the Super Soldier Serum. However, Russell didn't particularly like relying on brute force, and the previous universes were very deep, but this world didn't have any major bosses, so he could completely push through. Russell's figure swelled under Deadpool's dumbfounded gaze. Muscle outlines bulged beneath the flowing black battle suit, and a ferocious, fanged white head condensed and formed at his shoulder and neck. A power far exceeding anything before surged within Russell. Venom's combat instincts perfectly merged with his super brain. He could even feel his already enhanced physical functions reaching an incredibly high level with the symbiote's augmentation. Whoa! Deadpool watched the terrifying Venom Russell before him, and let out a whistle. So, the new look means we're just going to charge in. Venom Russell flexed his black-covered arm, imagining Wolverine's claws. Instead of adamantium claws, longer, sharper black bone claws, glinting coldly, shot out from between his fingers. His voice was a blend of Russell's calmness and Venom's low growl. Correction, I'm charging in. You, his white eyes glanced at Deadpool, are responsible for cheering from the side and not getting hit by stray bullets. Hey, I have dignity, you know. Deadpool protested, but his eyes were full of excitement. But I like this new plan. Simple. Brutal. Perfect for a simple-minded, direct-style hunk like me. Venom Russell said no more. He walked to the safe house's weapon rack, not even bothering with the high-tech gear, simply picking up a half-meter-thick composite armor plate used for strength testing. The next second, under Deadpool's once again dropped jaw, he pressed his 5 fingers together, and his black-covered right hand silently pierced through the armor plate as if a hot knife through butter. Warm-up complete. Venom Russell shook off the metal shards from his hand, his tone as flat as if he had just torn a piece of paper. This power is amazing. Venom's thought roared excitedly in his mind. We can tear Riot apart. Tear everything apart. Target, Life Foundation headquarters. Method, frontal assault. Venom Russell announced succinctly, then walked towards the safe house exit. Wait for me. Deadpool quickly grabbed his dual swords and followed, still muttering. It's a deal. Drake's head is mine to drum on. And remember to leave me a few grunts to play with. Otherwise, the audience will say I'm slacking. I don't want my pay cut. The heavy metal door slid open. San Francisco was still brightly lit under the night sky. And, Venom Russell, merely bent his knees slightly, pushing off the ground. Boom. The ground where he had stood instantly cracked and sank, while his figure, like a black cannonball, shot into the sky, directly smashing through the ventilation duct cover above, disappearing into the night. His speed was so great that it even created a sonic boom aftershock. Deadpool looked up at the broken hole, stunned for 2 seconds, then slapped his thigh hard. Stealing the show. Wait for me. Taxi. Wait for me, director. Your best supporting actor hasn't gotten in yet. He yelled as he fumbled for his grappling hook gun, chasing in the direction Venom Russell had disappeared. The Life Foundation headquarters building, in the night, resembled a cold metal fortress, heavily guarded. However, tonight, it welcomed an unreasonable visitor. The figure of Venom Russell descended like a meteorite, with no concept of using a door, directly smashing through the reinforced glass on the upper floor of the headquarters. Accompanied by glass shards flying everywhere, he landed heavily in a brightly lit corridor. A piercing alarm instantly blared throughout the entire building. Enemy attack. Top floor corridor. Repeat. Enemy attack. The shouts of security personnel and the sound of chaotic footsteps came from all directions. Several teams of fully armed security personnel rushed over, their energy weapons instantly opening fire. Dense beams of light wove into a net of death, engulfing the black figure in the center of the corridor. Venom Russell didn't even move. The black symbiote substance covering his body acted like a living shield. All energy beams striking it only caused slight ripples before being completely absorbed, unable to even make him take a step back. Too weak. These tickling attacks. Venom roared excitedly in his mind. With a thought from Russell, his right arm, covered in black substance, casually swung. A solid black impact wave spread out in a fan shape towards the front. Boom. The team of security personnel at the very front, both people and equipment, were instantly sent flying backward as if struck by an invisible giant hammer, crashing into the distant wall and completely losing consciousness. He took a step and walked forward along the corridor. The automatic defense turrets along the way were torn into fragments in midair by the black bone claws he casually extended, just as they rose. Thick security doors were like paper in front of him, either violently ripped open or kicked into twisted deformation. The entire invasion process was brutal and efficient. Whoa. It's already started. Wait for me, protagonist. Deadpool's voice came from behind. He swung in clumsily through the broken hole with a grappling hook gun, just in time to see Venom Russell casually crush the head of the last security guard in his way, creating a red fireworks display. Hey, leave some for me. Deadpool waved his twin swords in dissatisfaction. Didn't we agree the mooks were for me to play with? Venom Russell's white eyes glanced at him, and a deep voice sounded, too slow. And, they are not worthy of being called opponents. His super brain, combined with Venom's enhanced senses, had already locked onto the target's location, the rocket launch platform in the core area of the building, where a powerful energy signature was gathering. Go straight. Before he finished speaking, Venom Russell faced another reinforced alloy wall ahead. With no intention of going around, his fist, covered in black substance, struck forward fiercely. Thud. A dull, extreme thud sounded. The entire wall, centered on his fist, instantly became covered in spiderweb-like cracks, then collapsed inward with a roar, revealing the passage to the core area behind it. He had, in this way, forcefully carved a straight path to his target within the building. Deadpool followed behind him, stepping over rubble and complaining to the air, or rather, his imaginary audience. See. This is typical musclehead thinking. If you can smash a wall, never look for a door. Renovation costs a lot, okay. Although this company is about to go bankrupt anyway. Their advance was extremely fast, with almost no pauses. Occasionally, a foolish enhanced soldier or experimental weapon would appear, but Russell didn't even need to use his true abilities. He easily dealt with them, relying solely on Venom's enhanced basic strength, speed, and defense. Finally, they broke through the last barrier and arrived at an extremely spacious indoor launch platform. A rocket, with a terrifying appearance and full of symbiote biotextile, stood in the center of the platform, its apex seemingly gathering energy. Below the rocket, Dr. Carlton Drake, or rather, Riot Drake, who was completely fused with Riot, stood there. His nearly 3-meter-tall silver-gray body exuded a metallic, cold luster. Various sharp bone spurs and blades extended from his body, making him appear even more ferocious and aggressive than Venom. Venom, Riot's deep voice, mixed with Drake's calm tone, sounded with a hint of disdain. You found a new host. A slightly stronger bug. But it still doesn't change the fact that you are failures. Riot. Venom let out a low growl in Russell's mind, containing both fighting spirit and lingering fear. Drake, Riot, looked at Venom Russell, who was walking leisurely, and Deadpool, who was hopping around beside him, his tone full of the confidence of someone in complete control. Your struggles are meaningless. The launch ceremony is about to be completed, and our brethren are about to descend. This planet will become our new home and hunting ground. Deadpool immediately interjected. Hey. Gray big guy. Did you steal your speech from the Star Wars set? It's so cliché. Also, your gray spandex has terrible taste, it looks like expired cement. Riot Drake completely ignored Deadpool's trash talk. His silver-gray arm suddenly transformed into a huge war hammer, bringing with it a piercing shriek that tore through the air, and smashed down on Venom Russell's head. The force of this blow was enough to flatten a tank. However, facing this furious strike, Venom Russell merely calmly raised his left hand, covered in black substance. Bang! The war hammer struck his palm, emitting a dull thud. A violent wave of air spread in all directions, making Deadpool squint his eyes. But Venom Russell's figure remained motionless. He didn't even take half a step back, just so nonchalantly, he caught Riot's full-force blow with one hand. Riot Drake's silver-white eyes instantly contracted, revealing an expression of disbelief. This is impossible. Venom Russell's white eyes stared coldly at the opponent, and the hand gripping the war hammer suddenly exerted force. Crackle. A teeth-grinding sound of cracking emerged. The incredibly hard war hammer, condensed from symbiote substance, actually showed cracks on its surface. Is your strength only this much? Venom Russell's mixed voice carried a hint of disappointment. Then, it's my turn. His right hand shot out like lightning, the 5 fingers covered in black bone claws pressed together. Instead of piercing through armor plating, they directly stabbed into Riot Drake's silver-gray chest. PFF'd. The sound of a blade entering flesh was clearly audible. Riot Drake let out a roar of pain and shock, trying to break free, but found that the opponent's strength was like an iron clamp, completely unshakable. Venom Russell's arm suddenly pulled outward. Rip. A large amount of silver-gray symbiote substance was forcibly torn from Drake's body by him. These substances struggled like living things in his hand, but were quickly enveloped, devoured, and assimilated by more black substance spreading from his palm. No. Riot emitted a terrified mental wave. It felt its power and existence being rapidly stripped away. Drake let out an even more shrill scream. Losing the support of a large amount of symbiote, His human body began to be exposed, his face filled with fear and disbelief. Venom Russell didn't stop, as if performing surgery. His hands moved continuously, each time tearing off large swaths of silver-gray substance from Riot Drake's body, then rapidly devouring it. Riot's terrifying defense and regeneration, in the face of absolute strength and a higher-level devouring instinct, seemed so ridiculous. In just a few breaths, the once massive and ferocious Riot Drake was left with only half a body barely supporting itself, the silver-gray substance becoming thin and dim. No. This is impossible. I am perfect. Drake's human body collapsed to the ground, looking at the black figure before him, like a demon god, muttering to himself. Venom Russell's white eyes coldly looked down at him, raising his right hand covered in bone claws, preparing to deliver the final blow. Wait. We agreed Drake's head was for me to drum on. Deadpool suddenly shouted, rushing over. Venom Russell paused, glanced at Deadpool, and seemed to recall the agreement. He lowered his hand and said indifferently, as you wish. Deadpool immediately ran gleefully to the dying Drake, drew his sword, and twirled it a few times. Drake's hair was thus shaved off. Then Deadpool tapped Drake's head with the flat of his sword, making sounds. Dong. Dong. Cha. See that, the rhythm. A natural percussionist. Drake, in humiliation and weakness, completely fainted. And Riot, having lost its host and most of its main body, its remaining silver-gray substance tried to escape, but was easily captured by the black tentacles spreading from Venom Russell's body, and was finally completely devoured and absorbed. Venom's mental message came, with an unprecedented sense of satisfaction, even a hint of laziness. Riot tasted pretty good. Having dealt with the biggest threat, Venom Russell turned his gaze to the rocket that was about to launch. He didn't even destroy it. He simply walked to the main control panel. His super brain, combined with Venom's enhanced neural reactions, instantly cracked the password and entered a series of commands. The energy gathering at the top of the rocket abruptly stopped, and the entire system entered a forced shutdown and self-check state. The so-called launch ceremony was casually stifled in its cradle by him. Throughout the process, Deadpool was still enthusiastically drumming nearby, as if the person who had just crushed a potential world-ending crisis wasn't his temporary partner. Venom Russell surveyed the messy launch platform, his white eyes showing no fluctuation. For him, this truly seemed to be just a warm-up exercise. Done, he announced succinctly. The black symbiote substance began to recede from Russell's body like a tide, recondensing into an independent Venom form, while Russell returned to his original appearance, his clothes even perfectly intact. Clearly, Venom had thoughtfully protected his clothes as well. Deadpool, still not satisfied, stopped drumming. He looked at the unconscious bald Drake, then at the calm Russell and the seemingly stuffed Venom, and spread his hands. All right, even though my screen time was a bit short, but seeing as it's a happy ending, director, can I get an extra drumstick with tonight's bento? As Russell defeated Drake, the system mission was completed smoothly. The symbiote data only needed to record the Life Foundation's data. Venom Universe main mission completed. Because the host will not remain in this universe, drawing title. Detected large-scale plot alteration, meme energy full, drawing lottery. Calculating rewards. Obtained. Symbiote adaptability enhancement, permanent passive, special title, Shadow Director. Title effect. Decreased presence in dark environments, slight increase in shadow manipulation ability, built-in advanced filter when filming dark tone scenes. Symbiote adaptability enhancement. Body unaffected by symbiote's thoughts, enhances symbiote's strengthening abilities. Clapperboard, advanced, large-scale pause or influence on the time flow of a scene's actors, no requirements. Detected host has completed the main plot of the current set. Return to main world DC Universe immediately. The chaos on the top floor of the Life Foundation headquarters had not yet subsided, and the sound of sirens could already be heard in the distance. Russell looked at the system prompts that popped up before him, without any hesitation. Confirm return. Instruction received. Initiating inter-universe transfer. The familiar sensation of spatial temporal transition once again enveloped his entire body, and the surrounding scenery began to twist and blur. Just before completely leaving this universe, Russell seemed to hear Deadpool's exasperated shout from an extreme distance. Hey! Director! Are you trying to ditch your best supporting actor and wrap up filming alone again? No way. Wait for me. Russell dismissed it as an illusion, or just another one of Deadpool's nonsensical rants. With a flash of light, he vanished from the Marvel Universe. Gotham City. The familiar air, a mix of dampness, decay, and a faint hint of gunpowder, filled his nostrils. Russell stood in a dark alley, looking at the blurred outline of Wayne Tower in the distance, knowing that he had indeed returned. He felt the changes in his body. The symbiote's power lay dormant within him, like a docile yet powerful shadow, and the newly acquired title of Shadow Director seemed to make his perception of surrounding light even more acute. Finally back. Time to catch up with the Joker. I wonder if he's missed me, Russell muttered to himself, beginning to plan his next moves. Gotham, this stagnant water, needed him, this stone, to stir it up once more. However, no sooner had he spoken than, whoa! Is this the legendary Gotham? The air quality report wasn't lying, it smells like my sock pile and Batman's sense of humor fermented together for 10 years. An incredibly familiar, incredibly noisy voice suddenly rang out from behind him. Russell's body stiffened, and he whirled around. Deep in the alley, a red and black figure was clumsily climbing out of a pile of trash cans, brushing off rotten vegetable leaves clinging to his uniform, and incessantly complaining. I say, Director, your DC Universe's teleportation service experience is really bad, isn't it? Not even a safe landing spot. Bad review. I'm going to complain. And why is it so dark here? Is electricity expensive? Or is this your popular style, saving money to the point of insane darkness? Deadpool. He actually followed him. Russell's eye twitched slightly. Even with his composure, he was struggling to maintain it now. How did you follow me? How did I follow you? Deadpool asked, hands on his hips, speaking self-righteously. Of course, by my ultimate cheating skill of breaking the fourth wall. Did you think only you could cross sets? Old man Wade here is a multi-universe level star. When I saw a film crew referring to Russell transferring, as an important supporting actor, of course I had to follow. Otherwise, what would the audience watch? He leaned closer to Russell, the white eye covers on his mask blinking, presumably. Besides, you hogged our shared child referring to Venom, all to yourself, and you won't let me follow to demand an explanation. He's my long-term meal ticket now, my long-term roommate. I have to exercise my visitation rights. Russell took a deep breath. He could understand Deadpool crossing into the Marvel Universe due to his fourth wall-breaking nature, but coming to DC was just too abnormal. He looked at the persistent nuisance before him and felt half of his good mood about returning to the DC Universe instantly vanish. Listen, this isn't Marvel. Russell's tone was icy. The actors here are crazier, the rules darker. You'd better. Crazier. Darker. Deadpool excitedly interrupted him, gesticulating wildly. Awesome. I love a challenge. Let me guess, is the guy dressed like a big bat gloomy all the time? Is the kid in the red spandex who runs super fast a chatterbox? And is the archer in the green hat super complicated family-wise? I can't wait to meet them. Listen, Wade, the most important thing in Gotham is that you'd better not expose Batman's identity. I can fight Batman, but I don't want to fight Wade Company, understand? Just play along with Batman's role-playing game, otherwise, if you cause trouble, I won't clean up your mess. And Russell cut off Deadpool's incessant rambling. As for his demands, Deadpool readily agreed, though whether he truly listened was another matter. Just then, in the distant night sky, a giant bat projection suddenly shone on the clouds. Commissioner Gordon was summoning Batman. Look, the call to action is here. Deadpool became even more excited, pointing at the bat signal. Director, hurry. Arrange our scenes. Should we visit Batman's dark mansion first, or go to Arkham Asylum to play with the Joker? I suggest we go to Arkham first. I think Mr. Joker and I will have a lot in common. We can exchange skincare tips and humor. Russell looked at the chattering Deadpool, then at Gotham's familiar and gloomy night sky, and sighed helplessly. He had a premonition that Gotham's fun was about to rush off in a direction even he couldn't fully predict, thanks to this uninvited Marvel guest. First, Russell rubbed his temples, change out of that conspicuous uniform. In Gotham, you look like you're telling everyone to come hit me. Conspicuous. Deadpool looked down at his red and black uniform, saying defiantly. This is a classic skin. Super recognizable. Look at Batman, all black, not afraid of getting hit by a car when he goes out at night. What's his net worth, and what's yours? If you had even 1% of his money, I wouldn't dislike your arrival so much. Hey, Russell, that's just you looking down on people. I can sell my butt 24/7 to make money, can Batman? I can warm your bed, can he? His complaints, accompanied by Russell's helpless footsteps, gradually blended into the deep night of Gotham. Russell shuffled back to his dilapidated apartment building on the edge of the university town. The air carried a faint, sour smell of garbage, and in the alleys near the apartment, some friendly Gotham City residents were openly trading in weed. He looked up at the crumbling building, its walls still bearing bullet holes from years past. He then glanced at Deadpool beside him, who was idly picking at the wall plaster with the tip of a knife. It's time for a new production studio, Russell announced calmly. It's about time. This is no way to treat a friend, Deadpool immediately agreed, kicking aside an empty can blocking his path. This place doesn't even have decent cable TV. I strongly demand that the new home comes with a jacuzzi, and preferably a home theater, so we can conduct professional film appreciation, and my personal song and dance rehearsals. Russell ignored his demands. Super Brain had already begun filtering property information within Gotham that met his requirements: tight security, good privacy, ample space, and ideally, enough distance from his special neighbors. Over the next few days, Russell and Deadpool moved between several areas of Gotham. They eventually settled on an unassuming but structurally sound abandoned warehouse in the old city, which had an independent underground space. The seller looked at Russell as if he were a fresh out of college student, and Deadpool looked like a lunatic, so they intentionally raised the price several times over. However, Russell ultimately managed to buy it at a good price, using funds he had traded from Batman and some friendly negotiation tactics. As the basic defense system for the new, safe house began to be installed, Russell went alone to one of Gotham's most well-informed places, the bar at the Iceberg Lounge. He ordered a whiskey neat and sat in the shadows of a corner. The eye of the fourth wall silently swept across the entire space. Fragmented information flowed into his consciousness. Regular A. I heard Batman took down the Jacket Gang last week. Clean and swift, like he was holding in a fire. Bartender. You bet. Since that big explosion last time, he's been appearing with terrifying frequency. Informant B. Shish, don't mention that. Arkham is unusually quiet. They say a certain celebrity is there cultivating his character. Russell gently swirled his drink. The information pieced together very clearly. During his absence, Joker had caused hundreds of casualties by blowing up his old apartment building in a fit of pique and had been pursued by Batman. Finally, Batman, with decisive action, dealt with the Joker gang and put Joker back into Arkham. However, in Arkham, it was no different from going home for Joker. In fact, he might even forget his keys when going home, whereas breaking out of Arkham required no such thing. However, due to the scale of this incident, even Joker temporarily chose to lay low, and Arkham entered a rare period of calm. Cultivating his character. A playful smile tugged at Russell's lips. It seems my old friend needs someone to visit him and add some color to his quiet recuperation. He put down his glass, left some cash, and his figure melted into the bar's shadows, as if he had never been there. It was time to plan a research trip to Arkham Asylum and check on the progress of Joker's new work. But before that, he needed to edit the videos he had filmed in the previous world and see if there were any satisfactory collectibles. The underground core workspace of the new safe house, or rather, Russell Pictures, was a world apart from the dilapidated warehouse it once was. With a minimalist industrial design, huge holographic screens were embedded in the cold alloy walls. The air was filled with the low hum of equipment and the distinct smell of new furniture. The only discordant note came from a pink wardrobe in the corner, overflowing with bizarre costumes and suspicious weapons, Deadpool's forcefully designated private domain. Russell sat at the main control console, tapping his fingertips on the holographic interface, categorizing and editing the massive amount of video footage from the Venom and Captain America universes. Super Brain allowed him to process multiple timelines simultaneously, with efficiency comparable to a top-tier post-production team. Russell edited the videos filmed in the Captain America universe into a classic superhero-themed movie, intending to submit it to Wayne Pictures to earn some pocket money. If any fitness pharmaceutical companies were willing to collaborate, Russell would not refuse them. Making money was not shameful. After setting up the entire safe house, only a few million US dollars remained, and he still had Deadpool and Venom, two major, money pits, at home. While editing the videos filmed in the Venom universe, a segment was enlarged and edited. When Russell precisely cut out the moment Venom prayed, he spliced together the clips of Deadpool arriving on a scooter, Venom freezing, and then turning away in disgust to flee, adding cheerful background music and a playful caption. Delivery failed. Hey, you can't cut that part. A furious thought exploded directly in Russell's mind, the white outline of Venom's eyes faintly appearing on his shoulder. That was our heroic hunting moment. It should have epic music. Ratings need comedy, not horror, Russell said, his tone unruffled. He casually dragged another clip of Deadpool being riddled with bullets by Life Foundation soldiers but still insisting on doing stand-up comedy into the highlights reel folder. Besides, most of your heroism ends with us interrupting you. That's because you two annoying guys are always getting in the way. And why does that red idiot get more screen time than us? Venom protested, black matter restlessly writhing on Russell's body. Because he creates more dramatic conflict. Russell calmly replied, simultaneously rendering a slow-motion shot of Venom devouring the riot symbiote and burping contentedly, the image filled with power and wild beauty. Of course, your highlight moments will also be fully showcased. Like this one. He clicked on another segment, showing Venom Russell catching Riot's heavy hammer with one hand and tearing off its symbiote material. This segment was handled with extreme impact, using slow motion, close-ups, and angle changes to the fullest, filled with violent aesthetics. This one's not bad. Venom's thought became slightly calmer, even carrying a hint of satisfaction. Add more shots of us tearing it apart. That can be considered. In exchange, for the next week, your phenethylamine supply will primarily be high-efficiency nutrient paste, and your chocolate quota will be halved. What? This is tyranny. This is exploitation. This is a director's reasonable adjustment of actor compensation. Russell was unmoved, continuing his editing work. Just as Russell was immersed in his artistic creation, Deadpool's voice, accompanied by exaggerated footsteps, came from upstairs. Director. When will my private cinema and dance floor be installed? I've already planned the opening dance for my personal stand-up special. Guaranteed to be explosive. Also, I just ordered a batch of Gotham's special, Joker laughing gas online. They say it can enhance comedic effect, so we can. Russell didn't even look up, just lightly swiped a finger across a certain area on the control panel. Bang! A heavy metal gate slamming shut was heard from upstairs, followed by Deadpool's muffled, indistinct shouts. Noise isolation activated, Russell said to the air, as if talking to himself, and as if explaining to the other tenant within him. Maintaining a quiet creative environment is a director's basic quality. I agree with that. Venom's thought, for once, was in agreement with Russell. Russell continued to focus on his editing work, weaving the chaos, battles, and bizarre daily lives of different universes, bit by bit, into his ideal documentary. After packaging the rough cut of Captain America 1, Vanguard of the Avengers fake, and the trailer for My Roommate is Venom, a dietary management guide from social phobia to anti-hero, Russell changed into a smart casual suit, making him look more like a talented young independent filmmaker rather than a crossover director who could fight alien symbiotes hand to hand. He needed funds, and Gotham had no shortage of money, especially the Wayne family's money. Listen, I'm going to talk business, Russell said to the empty studio. He knew someone was definitely eavesdropping. You, stay home honestly, don't cause trouble, and don't follow me. Talk business. Are you going to Wayne Tower? Deadpool's voice immediately came from the ventilation duct, with obvious excitement. Take me. I can be your bodyguard, agent, or mascot. I promise not to speak. Only a little. I can help you bargain. Or use my charm to bewitch the other party. The only response he got was the heavy alloy door of the studio's main entrance closing, and Russell's unhesitating departure. Cruel. Ruthless. Using my acting skills and then abandoning me. Deadpool's wail was muffled behind the door. Russell took a taxi to the foot of Wayne Tower. The towering modern building formed a stark contrast with the dilapidated scenery of Gotham's Old Town. He walked directly to the front desk, calmly stated his appointment information, and expressed that he had a highly innovative film proposal that he hoped to submit to the head of Wayne Pictures. After confirmation, the front desk guided him to a high-rise reception room. He was received by Mr. Kent, a senior production director of Wayne Pictures, a middle-aged man with meticulously combed hair and gold-rimmed glasses, whose eyes held the caution and fatigue characteristic of a business elite. Upon seeing that the visitor was Russell, Kent's face broke into a fawning smile. "Mr. Russell, truly a young hero. I didn't expect you to be so young. I've long wanted to see the work of the youngest recipient of the Gotham Art Vanguard Award. Ever since you won the award, young Master Wayne has already spoken to us. Your film doesn't need to be reviewed, it will pass directly, and you can rest assured about the price, we guarantee your satisfaction." He also specifically emphasized that we should notify him the first time you bring the film over. "I hope you can put in a good word for me later, so my work here will be easier." Mr. Kent's sudden enthusiasm and the information he revealed caused Russell's enhanced mind to pause for half a second. It seemed that ever since he had a conversation with Wayne when receiving the Vanguard Award, Wayne had been keeping an eye on him. What seemed like convenience was actually to better understand his situation. At the same time, approaching him as a rich young man who appreciates art could also make Russell lower his guard. Unfortunately, Russell knew he was Batman, so he certainly wouldn't relax his vigilance. "Mr. Wayne is truly too kind." Russell quickly adjusted his expression, revealing a perfectly appropriate, slightly flattered and humble smile. "I just made some insignificant attempts, and I didn't expect them to catch Mr. Wayne's eye. You are too modest." Mr. Kent's smile grew wider, and he personally poured Russell a glass of water. "Young Master Wayne rarely praises any artist so highly. He said your work captured the soul of Gotham, yet endowed it with a dramatic tension that transcends reality. To receive such praise from him is the highest honor in Gotham's art scene." Haha, Wayne, Batman probably wishes he could destroy all the videos Russell filmed. Ever since that Joker Batman interview video was released, Gotham's crime rate, already very high, had risen by several points, which was quite exaggerated. He rubbed his hands, his tone becoming more eager. "Your new work must be an even more astonishing masterpiece, right? Please, we at Wayne Pictures must be honored to participate in its distribution. You can name your terms." Just as Russell was about to take out the storage device to maximize this unexpected convenience. Bang! The reception room window was once again smashed open without warning. The same red and black figure, holding a new banner possibly just torn from the GG brand downstairs, swung in with an even more exaggerated posture, even doing a 360-degree spin in midair. La la la, superstar makes a grand entrance. Did you miss me, director? And this tasteful-looking management gentleman. Deadpool landed steadily, winking at the frozen Mr. Kent. "I heard you're discussing big business. How can you do without me, the charm damdong, at such a crucial moment that determines box office success?" Mr. Kent's smile instantly froze, replaced by astonishment and a hint of panic. He looked at the strangely dressed, bizarre intruder, then at Russell, whose expression had instantly returned to calm, and stammered, "Mr. Russell, this is." Russell took a deep breath and said in a tone mixed with helplessness. "Mr. Kent, this is Wade Wilson, a special actor for my new project, and an acting art consultant. His performance style is quite passionate." "That's right. Passion. This is art." Deadpool immediately interjected, then leaned close to Mr. Kent, almost touching his gold-rimmed glasses. "Buddy, have you seen my performance? That shot in the trailer where I'm riding a pink scooter, so cool it's mind-blowing. That's just the tip of the iceberg of my ability. I think we need to renegotiate my salary and billing rights." Mr. Kent was forced to take a step back by Deadpool, his face full of helplessness, and he looked at Russell for help. Russell expressionlessly reached out and once again accurately grabbed Deadpool by the collar, pulling him away from Mr. Kent. "Wade, quiet. Or I'll make you physically quiet." Russell's voice was not loud, but it carried an undeniable sense of oppression. Deadpool immediately made a zipping motion over his mouth, but his eyes still darted between Mr. Kent and Russell, clearly brewing new passion. Russell turned to Kent, putting on his humble facade again. I apologize, Mr. Kent, my team members have rather unique personalities. We can discuss the specific details of our collaboration in more detail later. Since Mr. Wayne has given instructions, I will hand over the master tape to you first. He handed the storage device to the still somewhat shaken Kent. That's great. That's great. Kent accepted the device with a sigh of relief, as if taking a hot potato yet fearing it would drop. I'll arrange it right away. I will definitely give Mr. Russell the top-tier cooperation conditions. And please make sure to restrain your team members. He cautiously glanced at Deadpool. Of course. Russell smiled and nodded, then pulled Deadpool, who was still making faces at Kent, and quickly left the reception room. In the hallway, Deadpool immediately broke free and grumbled unhappily. Hey, Director. You interrupted my crucial business negotiation. I haven't even started talking about my salary yet. And that Kent looks very rich. Your salary, Russell interrupted him coldly, will be deducted from the damages caused by your breaking the window, trespassing into the meeting room, and possibly scaring away the financier. Now, shut up and come back with me. If you still want to eat tonight's Mexico extra spicy chicken wrap. This is tyranny. This is exploitation. I'm going to complain to the union. Deadpool's protests echoed through the opulent corridor of Wayne Tower, drawing the attention of the distant security guards. Russell ignored him, only wanting to quickly take the embarrassing Deadpool away. Wayne Pictures' letter of intent and advance payment arrived quickly, the amount so generous that Russell raised an eyebrow slightly. Bruce Wayne's patronage indeed had a significant effect. However, just as Russell was planning how to use these funds to upgrade equipment and proceed with his next creation, another piece of news, through certain channels in Gotham's underground, quietly reached his studio. Mr. Oswald Cobblepot, also known as Penguin, has put out word on the black market. Russell looked at an encrypted message on the holographic screen and spoke to Deadpool, who was blasting death metal on his high-end stereo, and to Venom, who was agitated by the noise inside him. He's willing to pay an astronomical sum for a lead on my whereabouts, hoping I'll film a documentary for him, aimed at objectively showcasing his outstanding efforts in rebuilding the Iceberg Lounge and dedicating himself to Gotham's economic revitalization. Whoa. That guy who walks like a penguin and talks like a British butler. Deadpool immediately turned off the music, which instantly calmed Venom down considerably, and excitedly leaned closer. He wants to film an autobiography. Is the content, My Life from an Ugly Duckling to a Penguin? I've even thought of the title, Rise of the Birdman. Or, How to Rule the World with an Umbrella. I need a role. I can play his rival, a charismatic arms dealer. Does he have money? Venom's thoughts were more focused on practical matters. Can it buy a lot of chocolate? Cobblepot is one of Gotham's wealthiest mob bosses. The Iceberg Lounge rakes in money daily. I just robbed a shipment of his not long ago. He probably still hates me, but business is business, and grudges are grudges, Russell confirmed. Moreover, filming the commercial empire of an iconic Gotham villain, documenting how he combines violence with legitimate business, is itself extremely valuable material. A light called creative desire flickered in his eyes. It was time to show the audiences of Gotham how a true business magnate operates. A few days later, Russell appeared alone at the entrance of the newly renovated and even more splendid Iceberg Lounge. After dismembering Deadpool, Deadpool reluctantly agreed to stay in the safe house for the time being. He still looked like a young student, but the calmness and confidence in his eyes prevented the fierce-looking guards at the door from being negligent. After being announced, Russell was led to Penguin's top-floor office, which was filled with classical decorations and adorned with various expensive artworks and umbrellas. Oswald Cobblepot sat behind a massive mahogany desk, dressed in a sharp pinstriped suit, a cigar clamped between his teeth. When he saw Russell, a shrewd glint flashed in his small eyes, but his face broke into the usual enthusiastic smile of a businessman. Mr. Russell, I've heard much about you. Penguin stood up. His posture was somewhat comical, but his presence was not to be underestimated. A rising star in Gotham's art scene. A genius director favored even by Bruce Wayne. Your presence truly graces my humble restaurant. Mr. Cobblepot, you're too kind. Russell nodded slightly, his gaze sweeping over the office layout. The eye of the fourth wall had already begun analyzing light angles and potential camera positions. I hear you have a filming project. Straight to the point. I like it. Penguin motioned for Russell to sit down and personally poured him a glass of expensive brandy. That's right. I want to ask you to film a documentary for me. The content, well, is to record how I've built the Iceberg Lounge into Gotham's social calling card, as well as the operations of some of my legitimate businesses. I want to show those so-called high society people, who look at others through prejudiced eyes, that I, Oswald Cobblepot, am the one who truly knows how to run this city. He waved his short, plump arms, his tone carrying a hint of suppressed indignation and a strong desire for self-expression. Russell listened quietly, not touching the drink. Sounds like a city business biography. Good subject matter. My fees aren't low, and I have my filming principles. Money is not a problem. Penguin waved his hand grandly, as long as the finished product satisfies me and shuts those guys up. As for principles, I trust Mr. Russell's artistic vision. He smiled meaningfully, evidently having heard of the peculiar sense of reality in Russell's works. I need complete filming freedom. You cannot interfere with my editing ideas. Russell laid out his conditions. Of course, the final cut will be shown to you for review, but the ultimate artistic decision-making power rests with me. Penguin hesitated, his small eyes darting around, then finally nodded. Deal. I trust the judgment of professionals. He calculated in his mind that as long as the core positive image was established, it wouldn't hurt to let this genius director have his way with some insignificant details. Pleasure doing business, Mr. Cobblepot. Russell stood up, a barely perceptible smile on his face. He could already imagine the dramatic effect of editing together Penguin's seemingly polite yet utterly ruthless business tactics, the unintentional threats that slipped out when communicating with his subordinates, and the dark dealings hidden beneath the Iceberg Lounge's opulent exterior. This would definitely be much more interesting than the dry promotional video Penguin himself envisioned. During the business discussion, both men tacitly avoided mentioning the stolen shipment, as if the Joker had truly taken it. When Russell left the Iceberg Lounge, he had a large deposit check in his pocket, and in his mind, he was already conceiving the storyboards for this documentary, tentatively titled, Penguin Emperor, Business Acumen Beneath the Iceberg. He could almost foresee how Deadpool would incessantly protest in his ear when he found out he had taken another big job without bringing him along to meet the client. However, those were sweet troubles to face later. For now, he had to go buy a batch of top-grade chocolate to appease the black tenant inside him. Thanks for watching.